Kevin Wilkie and I, as you know, is a really good friend of mine, and we mastermind often, and we strategize on business concepts and execution. And when Kevin got a wind of what we were working on here, one, he's known Yannick for many, many years. When he got a wind of what we're working on here, he just said, Damien, look, I'm really busy. I run a 7-figure agency, but I have to be involved. This is way too powerful and way too important and timely. So Kevin's here and he's with us, and he's actually helped us put together the presentation that we're going to be taking you through today. You know, he's a consummate teacher. This man loves to teach and he loves to share valuable content. So we've all huddled on this content that we're going to be sharing you today. And he's going to be driving this ship, taking you through the presentation. Hi, Kevin. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I also woke up quite excited about today. This is something, it's like one of those, you wait years and years for something like this to come into your life. And this is one of those once in a decade opportunities that showed up in my life back when we first started talking, or you first started telling me about it in January.
That's awesome, man. And I'm so excited.
You know what's so funny about that, Damien, and I'll keep it super informal because that's the way I like doing things. But I sometimes go back through old notebooks, and the page that came up was from Costa Rica when you and I talked about this. So sometimes I'll flip to old notepads and journals, and it's this one right here. You know, I keep a journal every single day, and it was me writing about telling you about how to elevate your game and how we can help more entrepreneurs at a higher level and make a greater difference in the world. So this is one of the fruits of that conversation.
No, it is. And it's crazy how a global crisis really sped up the execution on that conversation, you know, because, I forgot who said it, but I know Warren Buffett quoted it, and it was never let a good crisis go to waste. And this is actually in a very ethical way. See, when you say never let a good crisis go to waste, some people think fear-mongering, or they think the negative side of that.
Predatory.
Here's a way.
Yeah.
Right? What was that, Yannick?
I said predatory.
Exactly. This is the complete opposite. It's a way to not let a good crisis go to waste while serving at your highest level, while helping many people, organizations, companies, the employed, the organizations that need support out there. You're going to be mind blown today. It's really giving you that opportunity to capitalize on this while serving others. Go ahead, Yannick.
Exactly. It's that 7-layer win dip that you were talking about. And I'm going to bring Mark into the conversation.
Please do.
Unless you want to do something else first.
No, we're good. Just by the way, we're going to be chatting in here. We are on Zoom. This is a different format, as you guys know. So please chat in here. Everyone can see the chat. We're going to respond to you. You can send us questions. This is a new format, but I think it's more engaging, so hopefully you enjoy it. Please give us feedback. Go ahead, Yannick.
Mark Friedman, he's the gentleman with the beard. He is someone that I've known for, 4 or 5 years now, Mark, and I've been talking to him about this idea for approximately 4 or 5 years, just kind of putting the bug in his ear. But Mark is an expense reduction expert. He's been in about 35 years in that space of reducing costs, also from a strategic business advisor. And you'll hear his story, which involves serendipity and synchronicity, which has me excited because again, that synchronicity from today of the journal, things are lining up in a big way. And Mark has been, I think you mentioned at the top of the hour, him and his team have been involved in saving over $1 billion for companies. And Mark typically only works with companies that are $100 million plus. And that's pretty much why our conversations ended up stopping at that spot. But I've been continuing to talk to him about this idea of what could we do. And then I had kind of an overlay. I'm like, if we ever do anything, I want to overlay Evolved Enterprise on it. So Mark, welcome to the webinar here.
Thanks, guys. This is, as y'all have said, it's certainly an opportunity that we've been talking about for quite some time. And in January, when you and I were together the last time that we could be in person, I kind of acquiesced and said, yeah, I think maybe now would be the time. Who knew what was going to transpire over the next 4 months after we were together that really is making this opportunity be extremely timely. And like you all, I'm normally up like I would say, I don't know, 5:30, 5:45 this morning, 5:17, my eyes opened up and I was like, oh man, I don't really need, maybe I do need to be up this early. So I think we were all on the same wavelength this morning with this exciting.
I don't know if everyone is doing the same thing I was doing this morning, though. I had a cacao ceremony and meditated and so a couple different things. But Mark, give us fill us in on a couple details on your background. If I'm I probably missed and glossed over some of that.
Yeah. So I actually went to school for accounting and law and became neither, and got involved in the business world early on, just advising businesses on all kinds of things. But my real knack with the accounting background and legal background was reading things pretty in depth, looking at, how do people spend money? And that kind of took about, I don't know, 30 years before it evolved into this business. But it was another one of these things when we came out of the 2008, the financial recession that we had then. Clients weren't really willing to, pony up front for services any longer. Plus, I was pretty capped out. And so that's when this model evolved into doing it on a no-fee basis, doing it on a success basis, that if we save you money, you pay us. You save money, you get money. And now we're adding the third component to it and creating an impact fund that, Yannick, you're driving that train. So
yeah, that's exciting. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. Kevin, you and I have known each other for a long time. I'm excited that you're going to be sharing this information. You've been part of some of the Maverick experiences and events that we've done, part of the the internet space where I originally came from. So it's great to reconnect on this.
Yeah, we've been we're like OGs. Been around since the late 90s.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've taken a couple different turns. I've taken a couple different turns in what we've done, and now it's all brought us back here to this really unique space.
All right. Well, I'm going to share my screen, and then we can go off the webcam. And somebody needs to make me gave me screen sharing. Not sure who the admin is.
Garrett, can you take care of that for him?
You got it now. You're a co-host.
Kevin, you want all of us to go off webcam here?
Yeah. Otherwise, it kind of creates this distraction that I don't want to have for people. There we go.
Real quick housekeeping item. I want you guys to, a couple things. First of all, thank you everybody for taking care of the non-disclosure agreement. The information we're going to be sharing today is super sensitive. So we just, we appreciate if you just keep it between us. This is a non-disclosure environment. And so thank you all for appreciating that and honoring that. The other thing I want to let you know is that for those of you that stick around through the whole thing, we're going to grab a list of everybody who's on at the end. And there's going to be something really special that we're going to be giving to all of you guys. So just want to make sure you know. Go ahead, Kevin.
All right. Well, the title of this is $150 billion evolved impact agency business. And we're going to dig in more of this of what is this $150 billion industry. It's one I had never heard of before until Damien first started sharing with me on in January about this, but it's this expense reduction industry. And it is actually a $150 billion a year industry that is just wide open for us to really take advantage of it and make a huge impact. And you're going to see in detail how you can get into this industry and create for yourself a $250,000 to $500,000 a year net income over the next year. And those are some big numbers, the kind that never really hear Damien and us in this agency space talk about, but that's actually what's realistically possible in this. And you only need a dozen clients or less to get to that level with zero fulfillment, like a level of like done for you fulfillment I've never experienced before. And you're going to be working far less than anything you've had ever done up to this point. And at the end of the day, making a profound impact for businesses need help right now, not just to first survive, but really thrive. And instead of laying off employees, you're keeping them employed. So you're allowing businesses to keep their employees on staff to thrive and make an even far greater ripple impact with the component that Yannick's added in here. So these are the things that I want all of us, all four of us want you to leave with, is how to become this evolved entrepreneur that serves at the highest level possible for you, and in doing so makes a greater impact than you ever could up until this point. Also, when you rise up, there's two areas. You're rising up in who are you serving, and then how are you serving those people with a business model that's really relevant in today's business environment that we're in. Like timing is like unbelievably how serendipitous this all has come together. And then when you use this evolved profits model and this offer that Mark has really perfected, he is out there closing 5- and 6-figure deals with a 90% close rate using this very unique offer. Just imagine that, 90% close rate. I've never heard anybody close that level. And these are deals that personally generate 5- and 6 figures in payments coming to you a year. So you can be making like 10 times more from the exact same effort that you're putting into business right now today. And we're really going to dig deep into this business model that can get you over the next year or two to that $1 million level. Not gross income, but actually what's left over for you with no employees and no fulfillment. And when Damien and myself say $1 million, that is not from a place of hype. Like this is the first time that you will see like a very real and realistic way to get to that $1 million level over the next couple of years for yourself. And there are going to be several parts to today's webinar because there's a lot of things that we want to give to you to really give you the most value out of this NDA webinar that we put together. So first thing we're going to cover is some very important trends that are happening right now, because the biggest success comes from being ahead of a major trend. So timing is really important. The second thing we're going to go into is who is this really for? Because this unique opportunity is not for everybody. So we want to make sure that you're clear that this is for you or it's not for you. Third, what is the business model so you can really understand it and sink your teeth into it? We're going to like peel back the layers of how this business model works. And then fourth, we're going to get into how to make it work for you and what the next year looks like when you take advantage of this unique business model at this very timely moment to serve at your highest level. And then the last part is how to get started in this and take action and start tapping into this very unique once-in-a-decade opportunity. Very quick, if you don't know me from my 10-plus year involvement in the Gold Mobile community, my name is Kevin Wilkie. I have an agency called Proven Marketing Solutions. I've been an online entrepreneur since 1996, back when I was in college. So I've been doing this for 14 years and have built 3 multi-million-dollar online businesses over the, when I say 14, I meant 24 years, sorry, typo, 24 years. Generate over $35 million in sales and have worked with Damien since 2010. So I had a training company called Nitro Marketing that's helped thousands of people get in the agency space. I sold that to Damien. We worked together last year over a program called the Simple Agency Sales System that had a tremendous amount of success. And point being is I have a fast-growing agency. That is my primary focus. But back in January, when Damien first told me about this, and the more we talked over time, I have become very excited about this evolved profits business model. In fact, on Monday, when I met with my business partner, Jeff, I was telling him all about this. Like, man, you need to check this out. I think this is going to be perfect for your dad and brother. And because they have these business connections, they could make a tremendous impact very quickly with the connections they have. And then Jeff goes, wow, like he used to do high-end consulting through a IT consulting company. Like, let's say, like in the probably $50-100 million range. Like, that's the first people I want to talk to about this. So like I'm out there talking about it. I'm already have ideas of who I want to bring to the table as clients for this. So I'm just as involved as you are right now with this. All right, let's talk about the two high-impact trims.
By the way, because I was like, I don't get excited about all this stuff that often. I'm like telling my wife about it. I'm like, you could even do this. Like, I feel like you could. And then it's so funny.
Yeah, when something very unique comes along, you just can't stop talking about it. So there's two high-impact trims that are happening right now that we want to bring to your attention so you can tap into both of them. The first trend is stepping up and serving at the highest level by being what we're calling an ethical savior for businesses that need help right now. Because, I mean, we're in a state of the world where there is millions and billions of businesses that desperately need help so they can survive and then start thriving again. And how you're going to rise up is in two places. One, rising up in who you serve. Instead of small local businesses that might be doing a few $100,000 a year or a couple $1 million a year, you're going to go to the next level and start focusing on business in that $10 to $100 million range. The unique thing is you're going to find it takes just as much effort to talk with and sign up a $10 to $100 million company as it does a $500,000 company. But the opportunity available for you is 10 to 20 times greater. And then you're going to be rising up in how you are serving these companies, because the top of mind for all these companies is how can we cut our expenses? Like, they absolutely need to cut expenses at a dramatic level. And one of the easiest ways is with employees and laying employees off. So you're going to help them cut expenses while saving their employees and not having to lay people off, which is going to make just a huge difference right now. And then we're going to get into, when you rise up this level, you get to tap into Mark's sales process, his 6-figure sales method that he has a 90% close rate that we're going to show you what it is, how it works, so you can start using it as well. Then the second trend is when we're in this time of great uncertainty. In the history of a business, times like this is where the biggest opportunities show up. But you have to know where to go find these opportunities, because they're not just out there doing what you've already been doing. The world is changing, business is changing, and opportunities show up that were never present before. So if we look back over time, more than half of the Fortune 500 companies that are out there, the biggest companies, got started during down economies. General Electric, IBM, General Motors, Disney, CNN, Microsoft, Apple, and more and more and more got started at times like this right now, because this is the greatest opportunity for dramatic growth coming out of this point. And the last recession, Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, Groupon, Yodel, and a whole bunch more got started during that last recession. If you, Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors and business thinkers of all time, has this quote: "We simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy, and to be greedy when others are fearful." And what he means is, by greedy, is when times are like this, where everybody else is afraid and trying to not do anything and uncertain and all that's going on, that he knows opportunity is abundant, but if you know where to find it. And it's not about taking advantage of somebody. For example, back in 2008, he went and bailed out JP Morgan Bank and saved that company from going out of business in 2008. And it was a huge financial windfall for him over the next 10 years by saving that company, because he saw that opportunity. So huge opportunities is opening right now. And the mindset that I had back in March when all this started to play out, I said, all right, Kevin, this is going to be my greatest opportunity in my entire entrepreneurial life, both financially and the impact I'm going to go out and make. And that's exactly what's been showing up ever since this. And it's not by doing what you've always been doing. You have to actively look for where that opportunity is, because it's going to be and look differently than what you've been doing up until now. And with the Evolve Profits agency business model, this could truly be your once-in-a-decade opportunity, because major shifts like what we're experiencing right now, the kind that create life-changing opportunity, maybe only show up every 8 to 12 years. And I know saying that this could be your once in a decade opportunity is a big claim. I'm not trying to be hypey. However, I do want to get your attention because it deserves 100% of your attention. And we're going to back all this up during this webinar so you can see if this is your once in a decade opportunity for yourself as well. And I mean, you know, Damien, he gets excited a lot, but when Yannick presented this to him and then Damien did me, we all realized what we're going to talk about in a little bit. It's a 6-layer dip of win. There's like 6 levels of winning that are take place for all the people involved, which we will be like covering later. And it's just like really incredible.
Okay, I'll jump in for one quick second about what you just said, which is this idea of the financial impact, financial opportunity and the impact. So yes and yes, like and a lot of people think that they have to be two separate things. And you know, as we go along, I want to show you all how that combines together in the Evolved Enterprise model and how it really is one drives the other, and that's where the exciting piece is. Yeah,
it is such a unique melding of both concepts. It's great. So now there's really 2 key groups of people that this webinar is for. So let's see which one you fall into. One, you're in the agency owner space, and you're somebody that's willing and able to do the work. You take the action. You're a real action taker, and you see some success. But you're probably not making that kind of money or have the freedom that you want in your business. You might be getting a client or 2 a month. However, you're just like being crushed by fulfillment because you're either doing it all yourself or outsourcing the work and getting unreliable results. So you're working really hard to make maybe $50,000, $75,000 a year, and it's enough to pay the bills, which you appreciate, but you got into this business to be making well over $100,000 a year. Ideally,
let us know in the chat room who we are speaking about. If that's you, let us know in the chat room. You can even let me know privately, but go ahead.
Yeah. But you got into this to make more, probably $250,000 or more while having the time for you to really enjoy your life. And if you're just like brutally honest with yourself, probably more and more days, you're just getting more miserable about your business. You're working just way too hard and way too many hours, grinding away week after week for a lot less success than you deserve to be making in life, and dealing with unhappy clients. Unreliable fulfillment is sucking the life out of you. So you keep telling yourself next week will be better, the next month, the next quarter, the next year, and it never really gets any better. So it's time to say enough is enough. Now you might be in the second group where you are what's now called a corporate America casualty. And you're somebody that you did everything right. Got a great education. You got a great job. You worked yourself up to the corporate level. You're at a high level, doing very well financially, very well respected. You're probably in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, spent decades climbing that corporate America job ladder. Nice job, making good money and good benefits, and then you just get blindsided by getting laid off. And reality is you probably won't get that job back because it's easier for those companies for you to be replaced with somebody younger and cheaper when they start bringing back people. So the good news is you have some really great strengths that you've built up over your whole career. You know how to talk to business owners and C-level executives. You know how to present in front of people. You have a great Rolodex of connections. However, when you look at the agency business model, you are somebody that's used to having a whole team of people working for you to get things done. So starting over from scratch, grinding it out day after day with a typical agency just doesn't play to your strengths and your capability and what you're looking for. Yeah, we definitely describing a number of people on here in the chat box. So go ahead and type in the chat box, which group are you? Are you an agency owner, corporate America casualty, or maybe 3 and you're neither one of those right now? So let's just kind of get a feel for which group we have in here. So I'm going to say something provocative. If you're currently building an agency in a group run, or you're in group 2 and 3, you've looked at the agency model and thought about having an agency, if you're not making a personal net income in the 6-figure range right now, then you actually have the wrong business model for you. The wrong model to get to the ultimate goals that you likely have in your life. I know this is bold and provocative claim, especially coming from somebody like me whose business is a local marketing agency business model. So let's take a couple minutes to actually look at this really authentically. So I'm going to give you an analogy, a car analogy. So let's say you want to be driving the Tesla Model 3, like their high-end premium sports sedan that's upgraded with the ludicrous mode. And it's the one that goes from 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. You might have seen the videos where the driver presses the gas pedal and the passenger gets like floored back in their seat, shoves their gut up through their throat because it accelerates it so fast to the speed. But so that's what you want. However, you actually find yourself behind the wheel of a 2008 Honda Accord that goes from 0 to 60 slower than molasses and shakes like a wooden roller coaster when you get it past 70 on the highway. That 2008 Honda Accord is never going to give you the results a Tesla Model S will give you. There's nothing wrong driving a Honda Accord if all you care about is reliably getting from point A to point B. But if you want something more than that, then you have the wrong vehicle to accomplish that. So the same is with your current business model. It may never get you the results that you actually ultimately want in your life. So in a business, like as a business owner, you probably want to be making at least $20,000 a month. That's $250,000 net income a year. And doing that while having plenty of free time to really enjoy your life. And when I walk you through in detail Mark's business model day, his model is one that's actually designed to give you the big results that you want, both income and freedom and impact. And granted, he's been doing this for decades. However, we're going to show you how to shortcut this with all of the experience and connections. But that's what you want. However, you actually have a business that may never make you over $100,000 a year. And you're going to be working like a dog, late nights and weekends with very little free time to enjoy your life to get to the next level. And you're going to be stressed out and close to burnout with all the crap you have to deal with day after day. And let's be clear, a great thing about you is you are somebody that absolutely is willing and able to do the work. And I applaud you for that big time. You are somebody that can put your head down and roll up your sleeves and do the work necessary. But no matter what you do, and no matter how hard you work, what new ever best thing ever of the week you try, it's very unlikely it'll ever get you to that next level of a promised land when you stuck in the wrong business model. So what is this business model problem in the agency space? It's like a dirty secret of the traditional agency business model. And it's if you want a full-time income, then on one's perspective, if that's all you want, like you just want to make enough money to pay your bills and not work, go into a job day after day and commute it, and you just want to be able to work from home for yourself. And it is a phenomenal business model to make $50,000 to $75,000 a year for yourself from home. And I think it's better than anything else out there that you can be doing right now. Better than selling on Amazon or have an e-commerce store or any of those other kind of things that you could be doing. It's the fastest, easiest way to get to that level. However, to get to the next level, that $250,000 a year requires a whole new level of complexity they have to take on that you may not want to take on or may not be able to handle taking on. Because in my agency, I've tackled this high level of complexity through a lot of hard work, a ton of expense and overhead, and a lot of trial and error to get myself that next level. And that's what's great you're going to see with this Evolve Profits business model is it has none of these higher levels of complexities and issues. Like I wish I knew about this years ago, and I would have done this instead. But I'm quite happy with my agency, and I'm still going to do the Evolve Profits model as well. So let's look at this in more detail so you can really kind of flesh it out. And again, like I mentioned, if you just want to make a full-time income, working from home, kind of doing the work yourself, having a small base of clients and making $50,000 or so, then nothing wrong with the agency model. Nothing wrong at all. We're talking about rising up to the next level, the level that you want to be operating at. And there's a lot of challenges and complexities that comes with the agency model to get that next level. One is you're going to need a lot of clients to be netting, like what you personally make at $20,000 a month, which is $250,000 a year. So I'm just going to walk you through the numbers that based on my own business. So if you have a client paying you $1,000 a month, let's say it's going to cost you $400 to outsource the fulfillment to some outsourced provider. So already $400 is gone every month from that client. Then there's going to be, to get to this level, you're going to have all kinds of software subscriptions that you own. And on average, it's probably going to be at $100, all that overhead, $100 for each client that you have. And then you're going to have your team of people, some VAs, a person managing relationship with your clients, some freelancers, independent contractors. It's about $150 for each client that it's averaged out. Then you want to factor in from a sales and marketing expense. You might have an appointment setter, maybe a salesperson. So $120, 12% of your gross revenue goes to sales and marketing. Then you have to process those credit cards. That's a 3% or $30 goes to Stripe or whatever merchant. Total all those up, that's $800 in expense for each $1,000 client that you have. So that means you have $200 left over that you actually get to put into your own personal pocket. So if you want $20,000 a month, $250,000 a year, that requires 100 clients to get to that level. Now, to get to the $50,000 level, you might only need 5 to 10 clients because you're doing all this yourself and you don't need all this complexity added into your business. Second thing with the agency model right now is competition has really become fierce these past 2 years. So I'm a member of a number of different Facebook groups for agency owners. So this one right here, I'm a member of 44,000. This is about how to do Facebook ads for local businesses. This group about doing Google ads for local businesses, 39,000 members. This one, like a digital marketing local agency group, 28,000 members. This one for freelancers, 14,000 members. This one for social media agencies, 24,000 members. Point being is over the past 2 years, there's a tremendous amount of brand new people that have come into the agency space. That's added a lot of new competition that you have to deal with. Third, to get to this next level, you have to build a team to make a good income and have a life for yourself. So there's everything that you need to become good with. So you have to find, hire, train, manage, and keep employees and independent contractors long term. And it's probably not something that you want to be spending all your time doing. And then if one leaves and your business now is in crisis mode because a key member of your team is gone, you have to figure out how to replace them. So you're either trying to get by doing as much work all on your own, or you're just deep in the weeds struggling to build a team. And then I saved the worst for last is you might be being crushed by fulfillment. And what I mean by that is if you're outsourcing it with all these different providers, results can frequently become either poor or unreliable from client to client to client, which means you end up losing clients or you're firefighting unhappy clients, you're losing sleep at night, and you end up with this very leaky bucket where more clients are being lost than you can sign up and replace on the top end. Or you're just trying to do all the fulfillment yourself and you're just maxed out in your time and energy and well-being. And if you're willing and able to navigate all these levels of complexity to get to that next level, then now you may not want a $250,000 income, or you may love working one-on-one with clients, or you may love doing fulfillment work yourself. That's great. The agency model has been and will continue to be great for you, and definitely keep doing it. But today we're talking to those two groups of people that want to rise up to something bigger, a bigger impact and a bigger opportunity. So let's dig into the Evolved Profits business model. So with this business model that we're now going to pull back the curtains and dig in deep with, it's like one of those bluish ocean worlds that has very little competition, especially when you compare it to our agency life. So unlike the local agency world, your ideal prospects that you're going to be talking to are not getting cold calls, emails, Facebook ads, and LinkedIn messages daily from people just like you. Very likely, you're going to be the only person talking to them about this. They probably may never have ever talked to somebody like this. If they have, it's probably like months or years ago. And with the Evolved Impact part that Yannick's melding into this, that we're going to show you in a minute, it really sets you apart from any other consultant that's out there doing this right now. Next is you are giving them a completely 100% risk-free, totally irresistible offer. That this is the part of Mark's secret sauce that he closes at a 90% rate. When he sits down with a qualified business and makes this offer to that business owner, he closes them 90% of the time. And I've never heard of anybody close to 90% close rate. I mean, have you heard that kind of close rate yourself? And on top of that, this deal nets you 5 to 6 figures a year, not like gross income. This is like net that you like put in your pocket till it goes to the bottom line, 5 or 6 figures a year per client. Plus, you're going to have Mark's expert help closing deals with you. Also, you get to leverage the success of the leading expert in this space, which is Mark. So that gives you instant credibility from day one. And we're going to show you how to piggyback on Mark's 40 years of experience and credibility from your day one in this business. Next is 100% done for your fulfillment. Like at a turnkey level I've never seen before that really, truly is issue-free for you. I know you've heard this before, and we're going to show you why it's very different. It's truly both turnkey and hands-off and issue-free. So imagine what your life would be like where every client is happy, they pay the bills on time, and you can go weeks, maybe even months without thinking about them. That's what this kind of fulfillment world looks like for you. Then each client easily nets you maybe $25,000 a year on the low end and $125,000 or more a year on the higher end. And that's like personal income going into your bottom line pocketbook that you're making per year per client. Because that means you only need 2 or 3 clients and you're making over $100,000 a year. Then you only need a half dozen clients instead of 100 to be making $250,000 a year. Or like Mark, oh yeah, I'm going to show you about this and mention, like Mark actually has 0 client receivables. So every one of his clients pays within 7 days or less, even though it's these large dollar amounts. Here's a big one, is you need 0 employees needed. You will never have to hire a single person to do this business. Even when you're making $500,000 a year or more, you won't have to have a single employee. And I'm sure for a lot of you, that is going to be a huge relief. And then with Yannick's secret sauce, he's going to talk about here in a little bit, the impact, that huge difference you're making for your clients is baked into the entire model, which is really incredible. All right, so let's get into actually what is this evolved profit business model that you can start using for yourself today. And to do that, like I'm going to have Mark, you come on here and just get into a little bit more detail of the journey you've been on to get to this point. Because like a lot of people on here, you started out as a consultant, going out there, getting businesses as clients, having them pay you on a monthly retainer, losing those clients, doing all the work yourself, getting maxed out, burned out because you couldn't do any more work. And then you completely revolutionized your business and how this industry is done back out of the last recession in 2008.
Yeah, so it was interesting because I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he was saying, you know, you're working pretty hard. You're working 60, 80 hours a week. You can't make any more money. I know what you're doing, but there are other people that are doing it a little bit differently. You ought to look at this. And he tells me about this guy named Phil. And I looked at the model and went, oh, that's pretty interesting. And 2 weeks later, at an event, and I run into another friend of mine who says, oh, you know, you ought to talk to this guy, Phil, because he's doing it that way as well. Okay. Now I'm at the beach in Delaware and walking on the beach, and I run into another friend of mine who happens to be a neighbor of Phil's, who says, you need to talk to Phil. It's like, okay. So when I got together the following week, and I changed my whole business model from a in advance consulting fee to a contingent fee based on success of what you're doing for a client. And since then, it's just been a lot of fun because I don't work as hard and I make a lot more money.
And then another thing that, as I really got to know you and your business, that you left that objective, like he told you should sign up for this franchise that he's a part of. I think, what was the cost to
it was $50,000 to sign up for the franchise, and then they wanted 18% of every dollar you received before you started splitting with other people involved in the project. And I went like, okay, the $50,000, all right, it's a big number, but it's not that big. 18% always going on all the time? Yeah, no, I can't do that. So I said to Phil, hey, let me see if I can do this on my own. I've got a lot of contacts. I know a lot of people. And if not, maybe I'll then consider your franchise model and join you guys. But can you guys help if I need some help in a couple areas? And he said, sure, we'd be happy to help. So that's how we got started.
And I love like the magic behind it, right? Like you had multiple people say, hey, go find Phil. And you're like, who's Phil? And then finally you're like, oh yeah, it's the same guy. And it just like shows up. And that's the way things really, like these door openers happen. We continue to get sort of like knocked on the head a little bit or nudged or there's like a knock in some way if we pay attention.
Yeah, it's kind of like in life, somebody puts something in front of you and you kind of see it and then you see it again. You're like, that's kind of interesting. And then you get knocked on the head. And it's kind of like, okay, I guess I got to take action. And so that's exactly what happened here.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine if you didn't pay attention to meeting Phil.
Yeah, right. I mean, like I said, life is an experience. And I mean, even like if you think about how we got to this point, Yannick, I mean, how many times, every time I think I would see you and we saw each other at least every couple months, you would say, we got to do this. And I would say, yeah, no, I don't think so. I'm not sure it really. And then finally, in January, we kind of like, yeah, okay, let's see if we can figure out how this would work.
Yeah, exactly.
And then COVID happens, and it really presents a unique opportunity because it's there, and everybody right now needs help. And I can tell you just by the number of people that are contacting me and having conversations with me, how much help is needed, and nobody has money to pay for it, which is perfect. Because that's how our model works.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to point out for everybody, you left that meeting with Phil, not only to get paid based on your performance, which increased the income you can make, made it easier to close clients, but you also realized instead of you doing all the work yourself, you started building up this team of experts. So there's each of these different categories of expenses in business. You went one by one and got an expert team for every category. So now you're not the one that has to like slave away doing all the work for your clients.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously I have certain experiences in certain categories, but I don't have a clue. I do have a clue, but I don't have the right language and the knowledge base, if I'm going to go into a medical practice with, to do medical supplies. So I teamed up with a guy who at one time was the president of Cardinal Health. And now this is what he does for a living. So, when you look at everybody that's involved in what we're doing, they have 20 plus years experience in that category. I just had a phone call today with my biggest client and my banking analyst. The guy was with, major banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, for over 20 years. And now this is what he does for a living. So we're having a good time trying to help people be more successful in business.
And since you switched to this, like over the past decade, you and your team have saved clients over $1 billion in expenses that you removed from their companies.
That's correct.
And then if you think about it, we're going to talk about like why they say yes. It's more than just eliminating expense. When they free up cash, they now have cash to invest into growth. Because growing a company requires money, and you find the money with the savings that they invest into growth. And so if like every dollar saved can turn into 5 to even 10x in new revenue growth. So not only are you saving the money, they use that to generate billions of more new revenue that come into that company as well.
That's correct.
and it goes straight to the bottom line. It goes, it makes your P&L so much more interesting and exciting. And of course, in this time, everything's about timing right now. It's going to potentially save a company, which equals saving jobs. And it's unbelievable. Also, like, for another piece of it is valuation. So people that are thinking about selling their companies, or even if they're a public company, they care about valuation in a big way. And literally, I had a conversation with a buddy of mine today who has a $20 million company. And literally at the last 5 minutes, I'm like, oh yeah, hey, I'm doing this thing. And he's like, oh, that sounds awesome. Because he's about to sell his company in a couple months, and $1 for him equals $8 in valuation, right? So he can, whatever they increase to the bottom line would be an 8-fold increase. So massive.
Yeah, that's a whole nother side of it, Yannick. There's the side of it where we cut costs to regain profits so that we can stay alive. Then there's a whole other side of it. We cut costs to be more profitable, therefore a much bigger multiple in a sale. Didn't even look at that side of it.
Which then equals one of your key partners that Mark will talk about later on. And I mean, there's just so many interesting things about it, which, I kept trying to poke holes in it. And one of the holes that, we mentioned on the slide is that occasionally you get a dry well. And explain what that means, Mark or Kevin.
And when we were talking about this, one of you mentioned, like, it's feel like each client that you take on is like an oil well. So occasionally, I don't know, it sounds like it's pretty infrequent, maybe a 5% of the time, you do all the analysis and you realize there's just not enough savings to make it worthwhile for them. And you just have a dry well. Like, how frequently does that happen, Mark?
It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. And you look at something and you get a little bit into the weeds because you thought there was an opportunity, but there isn't really an opportunity. Or you even we even did one for one client that did $12 million a year in temporary labor spend. And we found $12,000 in billing errors. And the main impetus was they had no idea whether all their different divisions were, number one, using the contract, number two, getting the rates they were supposed to. If you think you find $12,000 on a $12 million spend, we just basically handed back to them and said, here, you guys can, go get this yourself. Because it just wasn't really worth our time to chase it down anymore. And we were doing some other really pretty dramatic things for them anyhow. So this was kind of a goodwill thing. We just gave it back.
And that's the other thing is, like, once you do one piece of work, it opens up other categories, and then opens up other categories, and then you can decide to take those categories on or not.
Yeah, we're going to cover the 23 different expense categories.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Nice.
So, like, you just go from category to, when you get a client, you start with the biggest categories, and you just go from one to another to another. So that's how it's like this ever-producing oil well. Each category is a whole new level of revenue or expense that you save for them, which means revenue that you create for yourself. And you have some clients that you have been getting rewarded from a gusher that lasts 3 years that you've been working with them. And year after year, you're just going through more and more expenses and categories.
Yeah, so my biggest client, we're working with them now for 6 years. And and it's been from one category to the other.
And then, so that's like one extreme. But then most are like these consistent 5-6 figure a year producers that you are your bread and butter. And like Harry is asking some great questions. Like, we're going to now go into the nuts and bolts details of this. And we're definitely going to be sharing real life examples from Mark's business, so you can like fully grasp what this is and how it works. All right. Well, let's, real quick, for you, Yannick, like, why are you doing this now? Like, this has been a 5-year conversation in the making with Mark. Then you brought in Damien. Like, why is now the time that this is coming to the fruition?
Yeah, I mean, I can only talk about what my reasons are for this, and mine. Like, at my greatest purpose, I talk about how do we nudge the consciousness of the world using the leverage of business, and that's a pretty big intention. But to me, business has the greatest lever for making a difference in the world. So you look at Where are the pieces that businesses can operate? It's using their voice. It's the impact that's built into a potential product or service. It's their supply chain, which obviously Mark has a lot to do with here. It's their talent. It's their voices and distribution, and then of course their capital and where they can make a difference. And so I wrote a book a couple years ago called The Evolved Enterprise that Damien mentioned. It's been endorsed by some pretty big name people, some very interesting people who think the same way, that business can truly make a difference. And to me, this idea of an evolved enterprise, it's been a seismic shift. And I apologize, I don't know if we have those slides in here or not, Kevin, but so if we don't have them, I can.
Yeah, when we get into the evolved impact part,
perfect.
that's actually coming up, so you can save that.
Okay.
So maybe Damien,
you have been talking. One layer dip, which I love this.
Yeah. So my point on this is that so being a Maverick, which is a group that Yannick runs now for 8 years, I'm number 154. This is Maverick 1000 Group. This man's on a mission to bring business leaders together and just change the way the game of business is played. And so I've been able to witness that other fellow members, my colleagues, one by one, they eventually fall. What I mean by that in a good way, they eventually get it. They adopt this concept of really creating a business and executing on a business with higher purpose-driven profits. And so, here we are. I've been, your leader in this community for now 10 years. A whole decade. We've had a lot of resellers and folks, agency owners in the community do really well with all of the things that we have done over the years. I'm very proud of most all of what we've done and how we've taken care of our customers over the years. But I want more. I want more, and not in profits. I want to be able to serve at my highest level because my peers are doing it. Like I said, one by one, I witnessed this happen. And so, of course, Yannick's always in my ear. And so this January in Costa Rica, in a 3.5-hour sweat lodge, let me tell you, folks, I was suffering, okay? Absolutely suffering. But I went in there with intention. I went in there with intentions, and not to get too wild on you here, but it was show me the light. We started having preliminary discussions, Yannick and I, over some breaking bread, over some lunch, etc. And I came back home like this, guys. I came back home saying, this is it. This is our ability to really just, revolutionize the agency business for the Go Mobile community, because this isn't even the agency business. This is almost like a whole nother business entirely. And it's a business that creates, I like to call the 6-win layer dip. What is the 6-win layer dip? Talk about like high level ripple effect impact. Now I get to be a part of something that is going to do just that. For instance, I'll take it right down to the level. The evolved enterprise model means these organizations are going to designate and pick a charitable cause that Kevin's going to go into more of this, but they're going to pick a cause they want to support. That's the evolved enterprise model. And what they're going to do is now the people that are a part of that organization that get supported by that organization. If it were pediatric cancer, it would be for the cancer patients and their parents. That would be the supported group. That's right there at the baseline level. Then it goes up. The organization in this case is a win. Then it goes up from there. The organization that's actually doing the cost cutting stays in business or maybe creates a higher valuation. And that's a big win. The employees stay employed. That's a big win. And then in this case, evolved profits. We get to make money helping people. That's a big win. We created an opportunity, which you're going to see about today, for advisors to make good money serving. Big win. This is a multiple ripple effect 6-layer win dip, 6-win layer dip that I like to call it. But so that's my answer for you, Kevin. Why am I doing this? One, it's time. And I'm ready. I'm ready to receive. I'm ready to answer the bell. Here it is. Let's do it for everybody. And this is the bell, guys. This is the bell. I'm very thankful to have had the opportunity to know a man like Yannick that would introduce me to a man like Mark that's brilliant at doing this. And together we've created what you guys are watching today. This is 10 years, I guess, in the making. Thank you, Kevin. That's why I'm doing this.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's really cool. And you mentioned number 154. So I have this idea, this intention of lighting 1,000 suns who can light another 1,000 suns, and that's what it creates, that ripple of impact. And I love the way you're saying one by one, you're seeing your friends and colleagues fall, and it's like everyone recognizing their higher purpose. Like I call it like connecting your head, which is your business side, your marketing side, with your heart, which is the impact side, with your higher purpose. Like why were you what are you meant to do here? And when you align that, that's exciting.
We're going to call this falling up one by one.
There you go. I like that. Falling.
All right. Well, now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of how you actually go do this business model. So if you look at a business, there's three things that any business owner wants. One, they want to cut expenses. And this has been, they've always wanted to cut expenses, but now it's especially important. So it's very timely right now, the expense reduction side. But second, they want to grow their business. And sometimes this is even more important, the growth side. However, they don't have the money to invest into growing the company because growth requires cash. No way around it. And this is actually a big reason why they hire Mark, why they're going to hire you, because eliminating expenses that you free up for them creates the cash that they can now invest into growth. And then we're going to show you a little bit an incredible secret where you can actually make almost any business consultant out there that is out there talking to your ideal clients in this $10 to $100 million range, how you're now going to become their best friend, and they start sending you clients on a regular basis. It's really cool. And then ultimately, what they all want is the business to become more valuable. And when you do the first two, reduce their expenses so they can use that cash flow to grow their company, you make their business more valuable. It's automatically accomplished by doing the first two. So you accomplish all three of these when you help businesses. And the second thing that we talked about rising up is you want to focus on businesses in that $10 to $100 million range. This is the $150 billion a year industry because there's 161,000 businesses in this $10 to $100 million range here in the U.S., according to the IRS. So that's like a massive opportunity of potential prospects like out there, like 161,000. And then according to the Aberdeen Group, U.S. businesses and organizations are missing out on more than $150 billion in annual cost savings due to not knowing their true costs and not having adequate expertise in those areas where they're spending their money. And we'll show you here in a little bit like why they aren't able or why they're not cutting these costs themselves. They're just not set up to do that. So these companies have hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars in wasted expenses that they don't even know exist in their company. So when you come in and you eliminate their wasted expenses, you actually help them accomplish those three things. They're saving money, which means there's more profits going to the bottom line, and there's more cash flow that they can put to use. They're going to use some of that saved money to invest into growing their business. And then with this growth increases their valuation. So they're putting more money in their bottom line profits. And if that's what they want to do, and it actually allows them to be a stronger, more resilient company long term. So you first go in and identify the potential savings that are available for them. And I mentioned there's these 23 different expense categories. So I'm going to show you what that looks like here in a second. So here's a Mark's savings potential worksheet when he's meeting with a prospective business to take a look at what is the potential for them. So here's the 23 major expense categories that are present in businesses. Some are going to, based on the business, some are going to be more prevalent than others. There's some and then here's what's the average percentage of savings that over their $1 billion+ saved on average in this category, it comes out to around 27%. Could be bigger, could be less, but on average 27%. And this category, what's the minimum annual spend that they need to have, like total spend in that category for it to be worthwhile? And then you just put in what they actually have here, and you can see their potential savings that shows up on this side. So like example, like fleet management, not a tremendous amount of savings in that expense category, only 90%. But if they have a fleet of hundreds or thousands of cars and trucks, that could be like a $500,000 annual spend or greater. And again, these are all minimums on the small company size. You might have ones that are like 5-10 times this spend amount. Let's look at some numbers here. So we take telecommunications. This is probably one of the most common expense categories that Mark's team works on. So let's say you get a client and they just meet this minimum. So $100,000 in annual spend, 26% average savings. So that's 26,000 that you just created out of thin air that they now save every year. And then you work on the next category. That's very common, energy, utility spends. So again, let's say you just hit the bare minimum in saving, or they just spend the bare minimum of $100,000. Another $18,000, $44,000 that you just created in savings for this small company, a company that meets like the smallest minimum. And let's say, what was the equipment? Let's say they have a bunch of equipment that they lease in their company. So you help them renegotiate their equipment leasing terms, create another $24,000 in average savings. Well, they're in office with people, so they have all kinds of office supplies. So you help them with their office supplies, just the minimum that they spend their $100,000, so never $24,000 in savings. Well, they're processing credit cards daily, so they have all kinds of merchant card fees. I mean, they try, like, merchant account companies like milk you for so many hidden fees. It's insane. And when you dig into all those hidden fees, there's a lot of savings. So let's say they have the minimum 50,000 there, another 14,000 you just created. And then, well, they have an office, so I'm sure they have all kinds of janitorial supplies and stuff that take place. So let's hit that one there, 50,000 there. So there we go. Just a minimum client. This might be one of those $10 million a year clients that you get, and you just created 121,000 in new savings per year for this one client, and then you're going to be getting a percentage of all this savings going direct to you, while Mark's teams of experts, each one of these categories have his own unique team of experts that they've spent their entire life perfecting this category, and they know it in and out, and they actually do all the work for you. And this is just like on the bare minimum. You could take this times 5 or 10 if you get a larger company. So that kind of gives you a quick idea, a rundown of categories, what the potential is, and this great worksheet that kind of presents the opportunity when you're talking to a client. Now, let me... So here's what happens is you look at their list of top expenses, and you say, all right, these two categories, you spend the most money each year. These are your two biggest categories. So we're going to start with your two biggest categories first. And then the team of analysts does the work, analyzes how much savings there is, gets it under contract with them, and then creates the savings. And then you start sharing in the percentage of savings that you got for them. And then after they finish those two categories, you then go back and like, all right, let's look at your next category. And you start expanding more and more and more categories, and it creates that oil well effect. Each client that you get is an oil well that's putting out oil over and over and over again until you just kind of run out of opportunity with them. So Mark, let's go through a couple real life client examples that you have, like small, like savings to big savings that you create for clients. Are you muted, Mark?
Oh, sorry about that. So yeah, so I had an insurance group that called me up and said, hey, we've got this digital printer and we're going to release it. And I said, well, why would you do that? It's 5 years old. You know, and we looked at the analysis and what they already paid for the printer. Basically, when you lease something, you're paying for the full cost through the term of that lease, even though you may have a 20% buyout. So we had them pick up the printer, and we got them a new printer, and we negotiated a better usage contract for consumables and ended up saving them $38,000 over the life of that new printer, between not having to repay for the old printer and getting new equipment that was a lot better, more up to date, and a lot less costly overall. On our one of our clients that is a real estate a group, they have a 1 million square foot building, and we looked at what they were paying in energy, and we were able to reduce that by $236,000 a year, because we have access to the energy markets on a wholesale side rather than the retail side, and there's no brokers in between. So that's another thing that we do pretty effectively. And back to one of my largest clients that I've been working with quite some time, one of the things we did for them was we looked at their workman's compensation accounts, and we were looking at, we did an analysis of what they were paying, and we found something that was kind of unusual, that clerical workers were coded for employees, yet they were not clerical workers. And the other employees that were coded as like engineers were actually sales guys. And it was just, the whole coding was a whole mess. And when we finished reviewing everything, we found that over the three years, you can go back 3 years in workman's comp claims, we found that they had overpaid premiums by $2.3 million, which we are almost finished collecting for them. You have to go to each state and each jurisdiction and present your case to each insurance commissioner and why you have a claim for being overpaid premiums. And oh, by the way, when the client renewed their policy, but they actually changed insurance companies, they used our employee classifications for that new premium for the new insurance policies going forward. So not only did we recover $2.3 million, but we also saved them about $800,000 a year going forward.
Cool. Great examples. And we have more case studies as we go through this. Now let's talk about your irresistible offer that gets a yes 90% of the time. And the reason this works is, up until now, what you had to offer a business, like when in your agency business or anything that you're doing, what you're offering somebody, a business, always costs them money and has been an expense for a business. And I know, like in the agency world, when you do marketing for clients to get them more business, we frame it as an investment. But the reality is, when money is coming out of the business's pocket, no matter how appealing the return on investment looks for them, it's very hard sale, because they have to come up with the money to do it. It's just plain and simple. It is, at the end of the day, and it requires cash that they have to come up with. So how this works is, you are coming in and giving them the two things that they want most: more profit, more growth. And you help them save money to increase their profits and free up that cash to invest their money. And when they save the money, they don't have to pay anything or do any of the work. So it's a very easy yes. So kind of talk a little bit about how this close ends up working, and how you have this 90% close rate.
So, one of the things that we do is we look at a client, and the most important thing for most clients is the level of product quality and the level of service. And if you can't get your product and you can't get it timely, then pricing is irrelevant. So we always look at those two parts of the three-legged stool first, and then we look at lowering prices. And it's usually not a barrier at all. But once again, when we speak with vendors for clients or providers of services for clients, we make sure that they clearly understand that we're not going to sacrifice product quality or service levels to achieve lower pricing.
And then you're not asking them to pay any money up front. They only pay you after the work's been done and they've realized those cost savings.
That's correct. Everything must be implemented. And once it's implemented and the savings are proven, then we actually charge our fees. The other thing too, that we're able to do this 87% of the time by remaining with existing vendors or service providers. We don't have to change vendors. The pricing may not be as competitive, because keep in mind, when you bring a new vendor on board, they be more aggressive in bidding because they want the business. But a lot of times we can get that existing vendor to move closer by asking them to sharpen their pencils a little bit, because they're a little bit away from where the market price is. So it's just another strategy we use, but it works out pretty well.
And Harry asked a good question, is like, why don't they do this themselves? These are if this is such a big problem for these large companies, I would think they'd be looking over everything with a fine-tooth comb and have a team of people working on this. Their CPA, their CFO, like everybody would like be paying attention and eliminating all these expenses themselves. So why is it that the case?
Well, I mean, the biggest problem is, if you think about it and you talk to CFOs, they're too busy every day running the business. And that's issue number one. The second thing is, everybody is understaffed today, and probably going to be understaffed even more going forward. But even more importantly is, nobody really pays attention. And you think that's kind of crazy. Bill comes in, it's about what you expect. Sometimes it could be a percent or two higher. That's really not anything to make a flag go up. And businesses just pay bills. They just do. And the longer you have a relationship with a vendor, it's what we call price creep, because every year the vendor's going to increase, the service provider is going to increase pricing, and you're really not going to really worry about it if you're not under a contract that states where the pricing should be. So these are the kinds of things that we look for, that we ferret out, that we remove from the equation. And I can't tell you how many times the CEO has said to us, "Oh, that's my buddy John. I play golf all the time. He gives me the best pricing." Only until we go through the analysis and find out that's not necessarily the case.
Yes.
And then like their CPA or accountant, like I've never had my accountant come to me and say, "Kevin, here's 5 ways that you can cut costs out of your business." Like, that's not their role.
Yeah, no, accountants, keep in mind, are looking everything after it's happened. They're not looking at the things before it happens. You're giving them what you've done, and their job is to make sure that you're compliant from an accounting standpoint when you file your taxes. They're not looking at how to save you money in almost every situation.
And when you look at those 23 different categories, there's nobody in that company who has 20 plus years like digging through workers' compensation audits and doing that kind of work. Nobody has that level of expertise in any company right now.
Well, not only that, but with all the audits that we've done as a team and a group, we have so much pricing information that in the strategies that we use to be able to affect positive change for businesses, you can't afford that information. And it's just something that we have that's part of our solution and what we bring to the table.
All right. So now, Yannick, this is your part too. This is what you layered on, is the evolved side of the evolved profit model.
Yeah. So I just want to start with why I think companies are looking at this. And so it's gone by a lot of different names, and it all really has been in the same world. So from conscious capitalism to triple bottom line to for benefit company to, I call it an evolved enterprise. And it's this idea of how business can make a greater good in the world, and how that actually increases profits, how that gets the entire team engaged. It allows you to recruit better A-level players. Cool. Thanks, Kevin. So this is like, these are some exciting stats coming on. I call it a seismic shift that's happening, and it's only increasing and increasing. And over the years, it's continued to grow, and it's happening from the outside in, which is consumer buying behavior is changing. So you can see some of these stats here. About 63% have bought a product associated with a cause in the past 12 months. 90% of consumers would switch brands to one associated with a social or environmental cause. This is from Cone Research, so you can look them up. But 91% of millennials would change brands to a cause-related one. And millennials are one of the huge, I think they're the biggest pocket. So these are the stats that are up right on here, Augusto. If you look on the slides. And then Deloitte said that purpose-driven companies witness higher market share gains and grow 3 times faster on average than competitors, all while achieving higher workplace and customer satisfaction. So it works for everything. It gets your team excited and bought in, and that's where it gets so exciting. So what I wanted to do with Mark was layer in on top of what he was doing. And I think that was from our very first conversation. I can't remember, Mark, that I'm like, what if we added an impact side to this? What would that look like? And I think it was pretty early on. We're kind of kicking that around. I'm like, the only way I'd get involved is if we had this kind of piece, because to me, that's where we can nudge this greater consciousness, and companies want to, a lot of people will call it give back. And I've been working on weaning everyone off of that term, because give back implies guilt and implies that we've taken something. As entrepreneurs, we're value creators, and that's the only way that we stay in business. But so a lot of companies will look at what they call CSR, their corporate social responsibility. And so they have a certain amount that they designate for it, and that's about it. And so the layer that we added to this is 5%. So typically Mark will do 50% goes to the client, and then the other half stays with us. And so we said we're going to put 5% into an impact pool, into an impact fund. And that is going to be directed by the client on the cause that they care about. Now, you as the Evolved Profits advisor that can come in here, you're also going to be trained in Evolved Enterprise. And I'm going to be training you on this. And so it's going to be, this is where you can get to connect your own head and heart and higher purpose as well, because you can say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, I know you guys have these 8 things that you guys do. It's very easy to write a check. I have 5% of what we just saved for you sitting right here. We have, $10,000 or whatever it is, $15,000 sitting here. We can write a check for you to XYZ charity. Or do you want to apply it in a way that could actually accelerate what you're doing and have a greater impact and make you a greater hero in your community and put a bigger halo effect into what you're doing? And so you're going to direct that money, and then also allow them to match it if they want. It's optional. But if they do that, then that 15,000 becomes 30,000, and you're going to be able to work with other Evolved Enterprise consultants.
And let's shine some light on something real quick here. When we look, Mark Friedman's track history here is $1 billion, over $1 billion in savings in 20 years. So I call this the trek to the next billion. Now imagine with this new component, now there's going to be advisors. I mean, obviously we're doing this to recruit a team of people that are going to help build that trek to the next billion.
Yep.
And now imagine if 10% of that, some are going to offer to do more out of their savings. Some are going to be, more philanthropical than others, But think about on that trek to $1 billion, how much is that if there was 10% of that went to charitable causes that are in need right now? That's huge. So
yeah,
that's
really it's not even just a check. And that's where it gets exciting, because there's all these different ways that you can implement it in an Evolved Enterprise. I have 11 different impact models we talk about, but it's not like writing a check is easy. So I talk about moving a company from a transactional company to a transformational company to a transcending company. And so we can go beyond just them writing a check to really creating something that is authentic to them as a company. And that's going to create this ripple of impact that's even greater, and that's going to grow their sales and profits and their market share and their community engagement and their team engagement even more. So that's the goal of all this.
I love Steve Weber put in the comments, anybody else have a palpitating heart with excitement for the possibilities this offers?
I mean, it really is darn exciting. And, part of my role, I've been like, okay, what are the pitfalls here? What are the drawbacks? And we have some of them. We'll tell you about them later. And I came up with one more. And Mark, you'll get a kick out of this. You know who doesn't like this? The vendors who have been overcharging.
Oh, yeah. They hate us. And they know when they get a call from us that their life just got curtailed. Because typically they're working on a sales, on a sales basis based on how much revenue is generated from what they sell businesses.
Yeah.
And, I'm working for this municipality right now, and this Office Depot rep has refused to answer me. I've sent 3 emails. I left 4 voicemails, And finally, I went to the city, even though we had a letter of authorization from the vice president of finance of the city that said, oh, by the way, you're supposed to talk to these people. She still didn't want to. We finally got a response from her yesterday. She said, well, I need to talk to somebody in the city. So they called from the city and said, give them whatever they want. Today we got the email in that said, okay, what do you guys need? I've only been trying for 2 months to get this information.
And
sometimes you get it right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time.
And that's part of the process.
When we get involved.
Yeah, that's part of the process, and I know you'll share like that process. But the client authorizes you on their behalf to go do all this, and now the vendors they have to talk to you.
That is the case. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes a little bit less easy.
Yeah.
I have you on screen. Can you talk about how you then lock them into the 2-year contract?
Yeah, so what we do typically with our vendors when we negotiate for our clients, we actually do a 3-year agreement because we're going to get compensated for 2 years of the 3 years. And so we want to make sure that things don't change. And one of the things that we do is we always put in a verbiage in the contract that says you cannot raise prices unless there is a manufacturer price increase across the entire country. So if there is a regional price increase, let's just say you have a client that's on the East Coast and there's a West Coast price increase, they can't do that increase on the East Coast. Or if they do an East Coast price increase, unless it's in the middle of the country and on the West Coast too, straight across the entire country, coming directly from the manufacturer, they can't raise your price. Oh, and by the way, we also have the authority to go in and look at what they paid and request the invoice from that supplier that they purchased the product from. So it's all part of our agreement that we do in advance. It keeps everybody honest.
Yeah, and then go back, that stat that you mentioned, and Kevin, you mentioned 87%, they typically keep their same vendor. So, they're just going to get a better deal, maybe not the ultimate best deal, but the relationship's intact and they stay put. And that's an interesting piece.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. I mean, making change with anything is disruptive in a business. So if we don't have to make change to affect a positive outcome, that's our main goal. So we had a country club. They just negotiated new contracts. We came in with the same vendors and saved them another 9.7% on their produce because of the way we term our agreements. And we also turned around and saved them 18% on their non-center of the plate spend. So that means not their steaks, not their lobster, not their fish, not their chicken, but everything else. The sugar, do you care where you buy your Domino sugar from? Usually not. And everybody carries the same plates and forks and spoons and all the other condiments. I mean, Heinz ketchup is Heinz ketchup. It doesn't matter who you buy it from. And so we were able to affect those positive changes. The chef was just flabbergasted. He was like, how did you do that? Well, we know what cost is better than what you know what cost is, although you thought you knew what cost was. So that's kind of how we do it.
And I learn new things about this all the time. And you've been doing this for so long. You're like, oh, yeah, of course we do this piece. Like the other day you told us, we're like, well, what happens if they don't want to change? Like, they have to do something. You're like, no, in the contract, it's built in that they automatically get the lowest price and it's just it just automatically occurs.
Yeah. So if we don't have to make a change and we do affect a lower price, then it's just automatically implemented. So there is no barrier to completing our process.
And automatically invoiced and automatically ACH'd.
It's wonderful how that all works.
And somebody typed in, oh yeah, when I put this slide up, because the idea of having a 2-year contract with your client that locks in your income is unheard of in our industry. like you don't run the risk of losing your client and income. And also in that contract, Mark has they have to pay in 7 days or less. Otherwise, there's a escalating penalty. So you actually have 0 accounts receivable, always paid on time. And then from a payment standpoint, you might get it monthly or you might get it quarterly. Or if it's one of those things where it goes back and gets a refund on past stuff, and all that refund check, then that's a one-time that you get compensated on immediately. So that's how you get paid back. And here's kind of a quick summary of Mark's unique process. Maybe you can give like the 90-second overview. I mean, this is like your bread and butter here, but to give an idea of like what does it look like as you go through and do this with a client.
Yeah, so typically we'll meet with the client, and in the past it's been in the person who knows it's going to be going forward, but we give them our agreement and we explain the agreement right at the very beginning before we move any further down the process. After we've basically told them how we do what we do, they sign that agreement, and we provide a statement of work for each project, basically each spend category we're going to work on. Once that's done and everybody signs off, we then get the baseline report created for them, which is gathering all the data both from them and from vendors, mostly from vendors, because when you get information from vendors, we call that the truth spend, because a lot of times clients will put different expenses in different categories, even though it's all coming from the same vendor. And then from that, we'll then develop our recommendations by either going to existing vendors, going to the marketplace for them. Once they sign off on which method we're going to use, implement just pricing change or go to a new vendor, we'll implement those recommendations, and then we just manage it on a monthly or quarterly basis for the client to make sure that the savings that we promise does in fact get implemented. And if it doesn't, the client doesn't have to go to the vendor to get the corrections. We go to the vendor for the client and say, hey, by the way, you charged $1 for this and it's supposed to be 89 cents. We need a credit of 11 cents. So that's what we do from a 90-second view.
All right. Thanks, Mark. So it's very timely. Jesse and David asked, like, how long is the sales cycle? So here's, I mean, we're not going to get into all the different stages, but the key takeaway is on the short end, from having a prospect, getting the signed contract, getting the work actually done, cost savings completed, and payment coming in. On the short end, it might be 4 weeks. On the longer cycle, it might be 3 months or 12 weeks. So for all of you asking, like, what's the time frame? That's kind of the range, 30 days to 3 months. And then you just get paid on autopilot because you're locked in with that 2-year contract. So however the contract and that expense category operates is a cycle that you get paid on. And let's go over some potential. So what I'm giving you here is like examples based from Mark's experience over all the years, over the billion plus saved. So on the low end, if it's that $10 million a year business, if the first 2 categories you operate in might create $200,000 in total savings for the first 2 categories, and then what you would personally net out of that after all the fulfillment expenses, like everything is handled for you, you get $25,000 from that one client on the low end. And that's like what you make and put into your bottom line, into the bottom line of your business. On the high end, if it's a $100 million business, 2 categories might typically create $1 million in savings for that business. And you would personally make $125,000 a year. Both of these are a year, and it's a 2-year contract. So $25,000 this year, $25,000 next year, $125,000 this year, $125,000 next year. And like, you're not doing anything after, well, you're maintaining that relationship after the contract gets signed. And then you're hopefully working with them to identify other categories that they get upsold into as well. So let's go with a conservative example. On average, you're going to have companies of all different sizes, but let's say on average, it's $25 million companies that you work with. When you average it all out, 2 categories is going to be around $340,000 in total savings. So your yearly net from a typical client in this model is going to put $42,500 into your pocketbook over the first year, and then again in the second year. Again, these are examples, but it's based on over $1 billion of work being done to come up with these numbers so you can kind of wrap your head around what the opportunity looks like for you moving forward.
So let me address this part, because this brings up a question for me, and I'll call on you, Mark, because I know that we wanted to be conservative with these numbers. What you're looking at are the conservative numbers. But for me, thinking about the $100 million company, I mean, what are the possibilities of when it comes to average savings for a $100 million company? Because the $100 million company is not just going to have one or two categories of waste. My guess would be way more, and my guess would be way more in total savings. What does that really look like?
So when you look at a business, you got to think, depending on what the revenue is, half of the revenue that comes in typically pays salaries and benefits, right? We don't affect salaries. We stay away from belly buttons from that standpoint, is the way we phrase it. Our job is not to get people fired. Our job is to protect a workforce, because that's one of the things that we try to do. But if you're looking at the balance of the money that's there, so you got 50 million of the 100 million is typically in expenses. So we always say, what is the check you hate writing the most every month? These days, that usually is something related to healthcare. So whether it's insurance or benefits that go with the insurance, the whole package, we can be pretty effective there, making some really positive changes without offloading anything to the employees and getting benefits to the company. And a perfect example is a client that we just finished implementing a change. When I say change, we changed brokers. We didn't change insurance companies. And the reason being was because they had a benefit in their plan. They were spending $1.5 million a year on their health insurance, just health insurance. We looked at it and we said, well, why do you have this benefit that nobody is using? Why are you paying for it? They said, what do you mean? Well, you don't have to pay for things if nobody's using it. And so by cutting that benefit out, it cut the expense by 10%, saved them $150,000. And all we did was get rid of something they weren't using. So it's just, so the opportunities are there. And it's just a matter of knowing, what to look for. And that's part of the team that I have. When guys have been doing this for 20 years, when they turn over the rock and the soil's wet, they know the rock's going to be wet. But then the question is, okay, it's wet, but does it really need to be wet, right? And so that's how we go through the process.
Got it. So I guess these numbers, could look very different depending on the company, the size, and, again, all the areas of categories. What's the most in number of categories you've worked with a firm?
So I guess right now we're into the 7th category for my biggest client. We started with wireless. We saved them $186,000 a month. From wireless, we went to temporary labor. We didn't find any savings there. Then we went to energy, and we worked on not the procurement piece, but on why are they paying sales tax on manufacturing facilities? And then we recovered all the sales tax that they paid on some manufacturing facilities. Then we went to the regulated markets that they buy energy in, and we asked, why are you on this tariff when you should be on that tariff? That was kind of it's a different language, but there's different tariffs that you can put properties on and buildings on. And on a $5 million spend, we just finished the analysis there. It's taken some time, but that's $750,000 in annual savings going forward. And they're the one that we also found the $2.3 million in workman's comp. We just started a bank fee audit. We found, based on what we've seen so far, and they pumped probably about $60 or $70 million a month through this bank. We just found that they're going to save probably close to 30% in the bank fees just by restructuring how they're actually paying. That's getting ready to be implemented. And next month we start on healthcare for them. So I don't know, what's that, 8 different categories now?
Got it. And what's average? Like, is it 4 categories average or is it 2 average?
When you're looking at smaller businesses, it's going to be 2 or 3. When you're looking at large businesses, there's bigger spend, so you can get up to 5, 6, 7 categories. And,
Perfect.
2 years becomes 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Just wanted to flush that out a little bit so that you guys could see the conservative side of it, some of what Mark's experiencing, on an average basis, and then kind of that high potential. Go ahead, Kevin, back to you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Mark. And it's a great example of this oil well effect, how you just, once you go through the first 2 categories, the biggest ones, then you just start going through the other categories. And you're just harvesting the oil from this well. And one of your clients right now that you've been doing this for 6 years, going from category to category to category. And it's this oil well that you just keep profiting from over and over and over again. So thanks for that overview, Mark. All right. And like I mentioned before, time frame from prospect being interested to you actually getting paid. On the short end, 30 days. On the longer side, 3 months. Now, let's get into the 3 things to actually have an evolved profits agency for yourself. Step number 1 is you want to establish your credibility. So these businesses and these C-level executives want to talk with you, and you come across as somebody that's credible in this industry. Now, after that, you establish your credibility, then you need to start filling up your 6-figure deal pipeline. So your pipeline of prospects that could be 5 or 6-figure deals that will eventually get closed are in your pipeline moving forward so you can sign them up. And then the last step is, how do you actually close these 5 and 6-figure deals and they turn into clients that you're doing the work for and getting paid? So step number 1, establishing your credibility. So one, you're going to want to have a professional website. You don't need anything fancy. I'll actually show you here, Mark's right here. It's just a very straightforward, but it's a professional looking. It looks like you're a professional company that knows what you're doing. It's going to have on here some case studies of past work that was done and all that. So that's one, is have a nice professional website. Second, you get to use Mark's Evolved Profits case studies because it's actually his team of advisors in those 23 different categories that's doing all the work for you. So his case studies now become your case studies. So from day 1, you have phenomenal case studies. Also, you can use a explainer video and even customize it for the different niches that you want to focus on. Let me see if I can play this. I'll just... So here's an example. It's just a nice little explainer video that kind of overviews what you have to offer them. And then that can be customized for different niches. And we're going to talk about the best niches to do this for. Then update your social media. So on LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile, your Facebook profile, Twitter profile, you want to position yourself as a certified expense reduction consultant. And then you actually become certified. So by working with Mark, you can become certified by the Institute for Cost Reduction Professionals. I don't know if it's like an inside joke that the initials stand for R.E.W, but you would now be a certified expense reduction consultant. And you're going to learn from Mark how to effectively talk to people and have them be interested, how to close deals, how the actual analysts do the work, so you can not be knowledgeable about the process and talk effectively about it, and a whole lot more. And we'll get into more of this at the end of the webinar. And then you can use the certification on your website, your email signature, social media properties, and all that. And then as you're talking to businesses, you're talking about your Evolved Profits team. And they have done over 25,000 audits and saved over $1 billion for companies. That's the results that your team that's going to be doing the work has produced over the years. And why is all this important? It's real simple. You now are positioned by doing these basic things right here. You're positioned yourself as a credible expert on this topic, and business owners and C-level executives will want to talk with you and hear how you can help them so you can then turn them into clients. Step number 2, what are you going to do to fill your pipeline with qualified prospects that you can sign up? First is we're going to talk about there's 7 hot niches that you can focus on. Any business in that $10 to $100 million range is a prospect, but with what's going on with COVID and everything right now, there's 7 industries that are hard hit, that are going to be desperate to cut expenses, and you can come in and really be that savior for them. And the first one is the travel industry. So just think about the thousands and thousands of hotels all across the country that have basically been almost shut down the past 2 months. So you go in and help those hotels that cut all those expenses out of their business. Just look around wherever you live and you're going to see hotels all over the place that fit that category. Next one, massive one, is the medical industry, the healthcare industry. There's I know this very well. My fiance is a doctor at a hospital here in the Boston area. And here we go. This report came out from the hospital CFO website. Right now, because of what's going on, you might not know this, but hospitals are bleeding money on collectively $1.4 billion in lost revenue is happening every single day because of COVID, because where hospitals make money is elective procedures, and all of those can't be done right now. And my fiance's hospital, they just got a $20 million grant from the government, and that is only going to get them by for the next 2, maybe 3 months. And if something doesn't radically change, that hospital is going to go bankrupt. They're going to be out of business. So hospitals desperately need to cut expenses. This is a huge opportunity out there. And there's other things. So it could be surgery centers. It could be health clinics or multi-location medical practices that are all over the place. Another category, nursing homes and assisted care facilities.
That one's huge.
Huge opportunity and huge need right now. The construction industry is hit hard. And everybody probably knows a construction company, and you'd be surprised how big some of these construction businesses are, that they actually are doing tens of millions of dollars of revenue. Nonprofits, also the larger nonprofits that in that kind of yearly they're not like generating revenue, but they are generating money from donations that they're putting to work. So you can go in and help nonprofits. Another one, somebody mentioned this in the chat box, municipalities, cities and local governments absolutely need help right now. And guaranteed there is a tremendous amount of waste in these municipalities that are out there. And this works great if you know somebody or you're referred to somebody that's on the city council or the city mayor. If you can get one of those ends, then that's a huge leg up to get a municipality as a client. And also restaurants, you want to focus on the multiple location restaurants only. And so they have a handful of locations across the geographic region, or maybe they have 5 or 6 different restaurants in their ownership group, and each is a different brand, but they're all owned by the same group of people. That's also going to be a great category to focus on as well. So how do you go out and fill your pipeline? Well, there's a couple different things that you can start doing. One thing you can do to create quick wins in your first couple of weeks is just start looking at who do you know in that $10 to $100 million range. And it's great if it's in the 7 industries that I just went through. But the reality is that they could be in any kind of industry out there. It doesn't matter if it's in the 7 or not. If you know somebody that is an owner or C-level executive or vice president or higher level manager in a company that size, then that's a great person to start talking to right away. Second thing to get some quick wins is start asking yourself this right now. It's like, who do you know that's a friend or colleague who works in those 7 industries? or they're a manager, vice president, or C-level executive at a larger company, or they're a healthcare worker, doctor, nurse, or working in healthcare, and they can get you they can refer you to the right person at that medical place. I mean, that's what I'm going to do with my fiance. I'm going to have her refer me to the CEO of her hospital to start this conversation. Or what's your favorite restaurant? Like, I know here in Boston, my favorite restaurants that I go to frequently, they're all owned by a large restaurant group with half a dozen or more local restaurants. That's a great place to start having a conversation. Or who do you know that's a consultant that works in the business-to-business industry and has these people as their clients, and they already have those connections? So you just send them a simple referral getting message via email or text or Facebook Messenger, or just a one-on-one conversation to pique their interest and have them want to find out more, to start the conversation. Also, LinkedIn. Awesome place to start filling your pipeline, because you can go on there and search based on the 3 key criteria. 1, the industry that they're in. Secondly, the size of their company. And third, that they are a CEO, CFO, like they're in the C-level executive, or they're the owner of a company. So I did this, and then you connect with them on LinkedIn and then send them a message to start the conversation. So I looked before this, and like in the hotel industry, how many hotels in the U.S. fit this $10 to $100 million range? So looking at here, I looked at hotels, how many C-level executives or owners are on LinkedIn that have anywhere from 50 to 1,000 employees. That means they're probably in that $10 to $100 million range, and there's 22,000 people on LinkedIn that are C-level executives or owners of hotels in the target range. That's just an insane amount of potential people in that one category. There's 7 other categories, and there's all other businesses. So LinkedIn can be an absolute gold mine that you can put in place for yourself. And then this is where Mark's bread and butter has been built up over the years, is his super referrer network. And this is going to be your ultimate goal, is you have people that are referring their clients and you leveraging their influence to get you in the door to help them out. And Mark, can you share a story of how this, like, one of these people turned into all this new business?
Yeah, so I kind of mentioned this earlier. This was the insurance group that had this digital copier, which we saved them $38,000 on. They then referred me to one of their clients, which was a turnaround management company, who's now referred me 10 clients that need help with their expenses. He's referred me to a municipality. Actually, it was to another client of his that had the access to the municipality, because they had already gotten a contract with the municipality, and now I'm coming in providing them all the resources and the support to be able to cut $2 million in expenses to fund the construction projects that they're going to be doing for the city. And that we're reviewing a $500 million in spend. And it's a pretty daunting task, especially for a city that has $1 billion budget, that you would think would have some kind of technology in place. FYI, they have 12 different people in 12 different departments across the city in different offices that manage their payroll. And I asked why. They said, well, because people write their payroll on a piece of paper and they give it to somebody, and that has to be reviewed and then approved by the heads of the departments before it gets sent over to finance to be paid. And I went like, huh? In today's world, you're still doing stuff by paper? They have an online portal for doing RFPs, but when the people send invoices in for being paid, there's no solution to compare the RFP against the invoices. We're looking at these things and we're finding hundreds of thousands of dollars in overpaid bills because they didn't compare the invoices. So it's endless, really, when you think about it.
And
It's Yannick. I'm going to add in something real fast, which is this super referral network. And Mark, actually stay on camera for a second.
Real quick, Yannick, I'm going to go through the categories, and then
Yeah.
that's probably going to set up for exactly what you want to talk
Yeah,
about.
well, even more so, like, we're talking about like this tiny little group of people, right? Like, and Mark will show you how he nourishes these referral networks. But, I've been running communities for over, 15 years. And so we were talking about the other day, like kind of these secret magic ways that we're going to instill to make these referral partners even more excited to work with you, because they're going to be referring business back and forth and creating unique experiences for them. So, this is where it becomes this magic of multiple ingredients coming forth from me and Damien and Mark, and it gets even better. So keep going.
Yeah, so some of the people that could become part of your super refer network is business accountants, because they are working with businesses all the time. Business bankers. So if it's a company this size, there is somebody at their bank that they're personally interacting with on a regular basis. Estate planning attorneys, like most of their clients are owners of large businesses, because they have to figure out how they're going to handle that estate long term for their clients. People or companies that provide fractional CFO and CMO services are great, because these are your target. They have your target clients. Commercial real estate brokers are interacting with this target audience on a regular daily basis. Anybody that runs CEO peer groups. So for 8 years, I was a member of the Vistage CEO peer group. And it is companies that are in this target range that are part of those groups. One thing that I would do is start to get to know the facilitators of these peer groups, because those facilitators, so like my Vistage chair, her day-to-day job is to network with owners and CEOs of large businesses, and they are always looking for great resources for their group members. So you will become an amazing resource that they absolutely want to introduce to everybody in their CEO peer group, and then start telling the other facilitators so they get introduced to their peer group. So this is like a gold mine right here. That would be one of the first places I would look. And then this is kind of touched on earlier, but anybody that's involved in the acquisition of businesses, so business brokers, M&A advisors, or the actual private equity companies that are buying businesses, once a business is bought, one of the first things that they're going to want to do is cut costs. So you can become their go-to person for every single deal that they close, that they now bring you in after the deal is closed, because they know that you're going to cut costs and make that deal even better for them. And then one of the golden gooses is all these corporate consultants that are out there. And you're going to become their greatest friends. And the reason why is they have the business connections, but it's hard for them to get a yes from a business, because what they offer is a large expense for these businesses. They're doing like business improvement coaches, sales coaches, PR agencies. Like I do EOS. So anybody that's an EOS facilitator, team building companies and services. So you become their go-to person, because you actually go in and find the money that the company can now use to pay for their consultant services. And you are their best friend, because they said, like, man, I want to get this client on board, but I can't get them to say yes, because they're not willing to invest this money. So they bring you in, you save them $100,000, and oh, great news. Hey, they now have the $5,000 to pay for that consultant services.
Yeah, not even 5 or 25 or 50 or whatever whatever they're charging, like that. Mark has been telling me this over and over again, and then it hit me like a ton of bricks, because it's such a amazing just partnership, because they are in there all the time, every single day, and it's really, really powerful.
Hey, I want to get one more super referrer. Just in a conversation that I had the other day with a good friend of mine, Daniel Hughes. He works with a lot of charitable causes and things like that. And it hit him. He's like, well, wait a minute. We can go from that direction. You go to the causes that already have the big businesses that support them. Open up the doors to the big businesses that support you. And we're going to go find them more money in a time of need. So now the organization, the charitable cause, is now supporting the company. The organization that's been supporting it all these years is now getting Mark and company referred to kind of save them a lot of money.
I love that. And then you know what else, Damien, is what that opens up the door to is who do you think they want to support with their impact fund that we're contributing to?
That's exactly right.
And then, you know, we work with the cause partner and say, well, how do we make this an even greater win for XYZ client? And it's like just a win all around. And they would probably, of course, contribute at least 5%. Like it's a beautiful, beautiful.
Especially for anybody like you, Stacy, who's on here, you know, with great experience and connections in that world already. What a no-brainer, right? And talk about coming from a level of high service. That's just amazing. So
and who do you think sits on the boards of these charities? CEOs.
Exactly. Let me say something here that I think is real important that I'd like to share with the community here. What you're seeing Yannick and I and Kevin and Mark do, we're just sitting here strategizing about new grandiose ideas about this business model right here live. What do you think is going to be happening over the next several weeks as we collaborate and mastermind over this? So there's going to be an opportunity. We're leading up to an offer to be able to work with this. It's not going to be for everyone. This is going to be very limited, but not from a scarcity thing. We literally want to build a very small team of beta charter folk to really crank this out, to crank this business model out, to get us out there to the super referrers. And it's going to be very hands-on. You're going to see it. I just want you to know that at the end of the day, what this is really all about, it's about you bringing these organizations to the table, taking them through a qualification process, which we're going to show you, bringing Mark to the table to close them for you. That's an amazing opportunity. This man has a 90% close rate. Okay, did we say that he has a 90% close rate? So, you know, what a great way to do it for those of you that have that relationship, Stacy, for instance, but you want Mark to be able to come in and articulate the opportunity here. So anyway, back to you, Kevin.
All right. Some people have been asking, what about if I'm outside the U.S.? And what you'd want to do is work with companies in the U.S. because Mark's team of analysts that do the work, they are specialists in the U.S. world. So there's not a Canadian team or UK team. So you might have heard in the Gold Mobile community the story of Andrew, who built a $1 million local market agency by getting U.S.-based clients. So you do the exact same thing here. You're in a different country, but you're focusing on talking with and sign up clients in the U.S., and then Mark's team of analysts do all the work for you. All right, third and final step is how do you close these 5 and 6 figures deals? First, it always starts with building interest with them. And this is the question that Mark uses over and over is, which check do you hate writing the most every month? And they're going to tell you. Most common answers are going to be health insurance or telecom, data, wireless. Health insurance on average is 22% savings in all the different things that wrap up in there. And in the telecom communications, it's on average 26% savings. So they tell you what it is. You open up that savings potential worksheet I showed you, plug in some estimates of how much their total spend, and they can see how much potential savings is just waiting there for them. So now you built their interest. Second step, qualify them to make sure they're qualified. And all you do for that is ask, all right, can you sit down with your CFO, accountant, like whoever, and spend 10 minutes, run a report of the top 10 expense categories that you have and send that summary over to me. And now you know where their biggest amounts of expense are going out of these top 10 categories, and if they're going to be qualified to bring to the table. Third stage, and then after you qualify them, you have a sales meeting, and I am going to, let the cat out of the bag. When you're a certified Evolved Profits advisor, you're going to have Mark, like Mr. 90% close rate, at the meeting with you to close that deal with you. So it is just a no-brainer. So you get to bring his expertise to do the closing with you when you're a certified advisor. And then they sign that contract, they lock it in for 2 years, and then it's passed over to the right people on Mark's fulfillment team based on the expense categories that they start working with. They're going to identify the top 2, work on those. You are there cashing the checks at 30 to 3 month time frame, and also maintaining the ongoing relationship, because this is your client. Yes, Evolved Profits is involved. The team of analysts is doing the work, but at the end of the day, these are your clients, and you want to be in contact, and when the time's right, start identifying and upselling those additional categories to tap into that oil well effect and get referrals. Clients can be some of the best referrers to new clients that you have. All right, so let's go through a case study of what this actually looks like with something that'd be familiar with our industry in the agency world is a dental practice. So, Mark, you had a dental practice at 8 different locations, did $110 million a year, and what was the outcome that you created for them?
So we found $810,000 in savings on that $4.5 million spend. And when we went in there and we were meeting with the CFO and the head of purchasing, they told us they were on a cost plus 15% model. So when we got done and we completed our analysis, we asked them if they were now on a cost minus 3% model. Bottom line is you need to know cost. So once we got that done and implemented, they said, well, why don't you take a look at our banking fees? And we looked at their banking fees. We were able to save $36,000 there. It's interesting because we give them all the data. They meet with the CFO meets with the banks. So by the way, we're not changing banks. We're like, yeah, not a problem. You didn't change medical supply companies. You don't need to change banks. And they offered like $9,200. And they said, well, the data that we gave them was not correct. So we went back. He came back and he had a second meeting with them. At the second meeting, they got it up to $32,000 that first year. And then the second year, we got the other $4,000 that they didn't want to give up the first year. They also bought a historical building downtown, gutted it, redid it. Their CPA told me he was doing cost segregation for them. He didn't even do it even close to right. We took a review of what he had proposed to submit, and we found that there was $1.2 million in tax refunds available to them on this cost seg analysis versus the $180,000 that the CPA had found. The bottom line is you need to have guys that are engineers that do this. CPAs don't do this. They say they do this. Trust me, every time we look at one of these, the CPA does, they leave money on the table. And we have guys that do nothing. This is what they do for a living. They love this stuff. And so the CEO, who's now retired from that dental practice, is now a referral source for me and my team because he saw what we did for them and said, wait a minute, I know a lot of other dental practices. How about if I just introduce you? Okay. And there you have it. So
looking at this, just these 3 categories that you worked on generated over $2 million in savings for the client, which means that's $2 million that now you are getting paid on from your performance.
Right. Yeah. The unfortunate thing on cost seg, the IRS limits you to a 30% sharing. So we don't get our typical 50% sharing, but still it was a good amount of money.
And Steve asked a great question. When the contracts for those normally the first 2 categories, and then when you upsell them or like upgrade them into additional categories, this is your client, Steve, and you are sharing in all the work that's being done. So every category that the team identifies as viable and does the work and locks into that contract, you're sharing in all of that saved revenue. So for the life of the client, this is your client that you're making money from as you're mining that or leveraging that oil well that you got. Anything you wanted to add, Damien, before we kind of go through the game plan for people moving forward?
No, keep it moving. It's rock and roll. Okay.
So here's over the next 6 months what it looks like as you move forward with this, and then what your first year looks like. So a goal that we have for you over the next 6 months is working with Mark, and as you learn this business and you become a profession at it, you're going to bring 5 deals to the table. I mean, that's less than 1 deal a month. And then Mark's going to work with you to close 3 or 4 of those deals into new clients. And we looked at it before. average client, let's say, is at $25 million a year range. The first two categories on average, let's say, brings $42,000 for you. It's going to vary, but we're just going to go with some averages, some very like realistic conservative averages. So those 3 to 4 clients in your first 6 months put 127 to 170,000 net to you over the next year from those first handful of clients. Now, your next 6 months moving forward, your goal is to get another 5 to 8 new deals closed. You're going to be better at this. You're going to have more experience and confidence. You're building up those referral partners, like all that's coming together. So you're going to get better and bring on more clients than before. So now you're at 8 to 12 total deals closed. That's at or less than 1 client a week, a month, bring to the table. That average 42,000. So now you're at 340 to $500,000 net to you in your first year doing this business. So you have met and exceeded that $250,000 personal income goal that a lot of us have where we want to be at in this business.
Well, and what's amazing is you arrive at that goal that many of us want to have, many agency owners I'm speaking for that want to have, and you do it with a conservative brush. Like that is a very conservative estimates of 1 customer a month in a world where many businesses need this. So yeah, I love that these numbers are playing out the way they are.
And we're not even talking about upgrading clients in additional categories. Like that's not even added in here. This is just up front. And there's that likelihood as you're doing this business, you're going to find a bigger company. You might find $100 million company. And instead of 40,000 that you make a year, that might be over 125,000 a year. Like you saw that dental practice that was at $100 million a year generated $2 million in savings per year out of that. So you're going to come across some of those bigger deals as well. And then over the second year in this business, you're still going to get paid on those year 1 clients because it's a 2-year contract. And you're going to add another 10 to 12 clients in your second year in this business. So now you're up to $750,000 a year net to you. And you can truly have $1 million a year business with no employees. Like this is a dream come true for many of us that have been in the agency space to have this kind of income with no employees. And on top of that, the impact that you're going to have. Your clients first survived and then thrived. You have saved hundreds, maybe even the thousands of jobs for your clients because they were able to cut expenses without laying people off. And then there's millions of dollars that have gone into your client's impact fund, creating that impact ripple effect and the heart-touching stories of causes and people's lives who've been dramatically impacted because you have risen up to serving at a higher level. All right. Painted a big picture of like what's realistic, but let's really scale this way back. Let's like bring it way back and look at like, if you just do 25% of this plan, what does that look like for you? You're not doing like all of this, even though it's realistic, like you did 25%. So that means your first year, you got 3 clients. That's $127,000 per year that you have locked in for income. Second year, you double it. Now you have 6 clients. That's $250,000. You're at that $250,000 a year personal net income with no employees, no fulfillment concern or worry, and an amazing lifestyle for yourself by just doing a fraction of what this realistic plan makes available for you. All right. Who now is ready to rise up to this evolved profits business model? Now that you got the full picture, pulled back the curtain, you saw what's up. And we talked about like this is for people that are ready to rise up and take advantage of the trends that are happening right now. If that's you, then you want to be a part of the Evolved Profits Certified Advisor Charter Program. And first, let me point out a couple unique aspects of this Evolved program. This is not a course that you sign up for. Mark, Damien, and Yannick are going to personally work with a small group of only 12 people to become highly skilled, trained, and successful Evolved Profit Certified Consultants. And Damien will show you what these 12 exclusive target members are going to, or Damien and I here as we go through the program, we're going to show you exactly what you're going to receive. Then you're going to have an opportunity to apply for and have a one-on-one call with either Damien or Mark or both of them to see if you are a great fit for this. And the program is a great fit for you as well. And the team needs to assure that you are going to be that great fit and somebody who's really going to thrive and prosper with this unique once-in-a-decade opportunity, because the team of Damien, Mark, and Yannick are ready to create the next $1 billion in savings even faster and have a far greater ripple of impact that comes out of it.
Kevin, can I let a cat out of the bag?
Yeah.
Just a little cat. No. So we have 2 advisors already. So correction on the dream team that we're assembling here, it's 10 folks, because Martin O, we call him Cal, many of the folks know him in the community. He's Evolved Profits Advisor 0. He was the first one. He jumped on me. He wanted to know, and he pounded me for it. We got to talking, and so he's joined us. Also, as many of you know, my good friend Chuck Chiodo. He's also in here as advisor number 2. So I was just want to let that cat out of the bag that you've got good company already.
I love seeing the comments in the chat saying I can sell this today. I changed my answer. I want to change my answer from part-time to full-time.
Yeah, Steve.
I mean, it really is that exciting, and I keep looking for more and more like holes in it. And there are some holes, like we said, sometimes you hit an empty oil well. But the other thing is like lumpy income. And I don't know if we've ever talked about that, but sometimes it could take 3 months or whatever it is to get that bigger check. And so you have to be okay with getting big chunks of cash in lumpy ways. You're not going to get, maybe something that's every week that you're getting a client giving you money every week. So you have to be okay with that. And
King says lumpy is fine. Okay.
Yeah, lumpy is good. Which is actually, I going back, I started in the lumpy mail world to direct mail, and we're going to have a little secret for some people about how to use lumpy mail, which is sending really cool stuff to attract the attention of these CEOs.
Yeah, you can already see it now. Yannick's going to be sending trash cans to the CFOs of the big businesses saying, would you like us to fill this up with all your waste?
I already have that one written. I did client work like 25 years ago, and I have that one written where it was a little cool trash can, and that got opened all the time. It's just like, you just wasted all this money or whatever it was, but it's pretty darn good. All right, so Damien, Mark, and Kevin, why don't you guys share what the training entails?
Yeah, so here's the components that you're going to get as part of this certification advisory program. So first thing is you're going to work live, hands-on, interactive implementation training with Mark over the next 6 weeks. And it's going to give you everything you need to become a certified expense reduction expert. So that includes, how does this business actually work? So you can go out there and talk like an expert, and you have the right lingo. You can go into any large business and talk face-to-face with the CEO and come across as like a real expert in this industry. Also, those different expense categories, he's going to go down into the details of like, what is this category? How does it operate? Like, how do you talk about this? What are we going to do? Not so you learn how to do it yourself, but again, you're becoming like a qualified expert in this business works over this next 6 weeks. Then you're also going to get all the things you need to fill your own 6-figure sales pipeline and have people going in and coming out of the end, how to present and close deals, and how to manage that client relationship ongoing, and how to have those conversations, upsell them into more categories to tap into that oil well effect. And then the goal for the team is, by the time you complete this, we want to have you have your first client on board or in the process to be closing by the time the live program is ended. So we want to make sure that you are somebody that's qualified to be taking the necessary action over the 6 weeks, so you actually have that result. You have that win or greater. Bonus training that's going to happen over the 6 weeks, like when Mark said he is able to secure this, it was a huge win. So the reason he's a CPA by training, so CPAs are not sales closers. But he was trained by Ian Altman. He's the author of the book Same Side Selling. And this is the man that Mark learned how to have a 90% close rate by taking his methodology and applying it to this industry. So Ian is going to come in and do a whole training just for these 12 members. Normally, he charges $20,000 to do this training. So this is a $20,000 training.
I know Ian.
You know Ian?
I know Ian. He's awesome. Just that is his training price. So he's incredible. And that question that Mark asked, which check do you hate to write the most every month? I would imagine that was Mark, or that was Ian's doing. I'll let Mark share that.
He might have had some input into that.
Yeah, he might have, because that's a damn good question, and it immediately engages them.
I always say that Ian can sell ice to Eskimos, and when he sells it to them, he tells them where to put it, and they know they needed it. So that's the key.
It's, the offering that you're giving them is so powerful, but when you frame up the conversation, that's how you get to the 90%. It's very easy for someone to just put you off and be like, nah, yeah, maybe we need it, maybe we don't. But that 90% close is unbelievable.
Yeah, so I'm excited about this bonus training right here. This is super valuable. You get to learn from Mark's own mentor how to do the selling to have that kind of close rate for yourself. And then you're going to become a certified evolved profits expense reduction consultant. So this is a huge credibility booster. It comes as a formal certification from the Institute for Cost Reduction Professionals. So it's like a real honest to goodness certification from an industry independent board, and you get to call yourself Evolved Profits Expense Reduction Advisor or Certified Advisor. So you can put this on your website, social media, email signature, presentations, like all kinds of places that you can put that to use. Also, you now have Mark's team of analysts that's going to do all the fulfillment for you. And like in the agency world, there's always talk about done-for-you fulfillment. And I have never seen a level of turnkey, worry-free fulfillment that this brings to the table. It is beyond anything that I've ever seen out there. These are people in each of the 23 different categories. Mark has compiled a team of experts in each category, that this is what they've been doing it for a lifetime. They live and breathe and love doing this work, and they're going to be the ones doing it for you. And the team takes over the whole Involved Profits team. Once that contract gets signed at that sales meeting, the Involved Profit team now takes over and handles everything, moving the ball forward on your behalf. And their results are your own credibility boosters, because this is your team. This is a part of your team. So you can be talking about, we've done over 25,000 expense audits. We've saved over $1 billion for our clients. And you get to use those case studies that Mark has built up over the years as your own industry-specific case studies. I think show a couple here.
Well,
so
while you're getting there, Kevin, I think maybe it's important if Mark would share why he's doing this now, right? Because it'd be easy for you to just do what you've been always doing, Mark, but why? I mean, we talked about the timing, but what's the bigger why?
So, yeah, because I'm not busy enough, right? But besides that point, it's the impact. Okay, it's creating this impact fund that you've been dripping on me for years, that what I do is perfect for. And I think that with the way that things are evolving today, and we saw this a while ago, this is not it's just become expounding right in front of your face. But there's been a trend to businesses wanting to have, some kind of give back. And maybe it's the millennials that are driving this, because they affiliate really well with businesses that give back to the community, that are important, reasons that are important. And a lot of businesses have been going in that direction. And while I do give back, and I have always given back in my business model, never to the extent from a from a more organized approach that, like you've created. And I think what you've created is a real strong foundation that will be able to really help a lot of people make a big difference in the world today. So that's really the reason why.
I love it. Well, thank you. And that's going to be part of your legacy. I mean, you and I talked about what happens if you get run over by a car tomorrow. The business doesn't really go anywhere. And this is part of your legacy, is the training and the ripples of impact that we're going to have.
Well, in the internal conversations we've all been having is the $1 billion that Mark's team has saved over the past decade. The goal is how quickly can we create the next $1 billion of savings?
Yeah.
And if you do the numbers,
the trek to the next billion,
5% that's guaranteed to go into the impact fund for those companies, that's $50 million. That's directly going into that impact funds to benefit causes. And then if the company matches it with 5% of their own savings, that's $100 million that's going to be created with this next billion.
Of found money.
Yeah. So that is, like you said, creating a real legacy of impact that's being made out there in the world.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. Well, I mean, you can see some cases. Here's one about telecommunications and the total savings created for these different clients. Here's one for a medical practice. Just on medical supplies, saved them $480,000. Here's a assisted care and living facility, changed $123,000 in savings. So there's like these case studies that you get a brand with the name of your own business that you go out there as a certified consultant operating as. So you're going to have your own credibility that way. And then there's a marketing and automation and sales CRM software they're going to get access to. It's called Evolve Profits Advisor HQ. You're going to get a free subscription to this automation and sales CRM platform. So you're going to, one, it can handle all your prospecting and marketing automation within it. It also becomes your sales CRM that manages that entire six-figure deal pipeline that you start to fill up and move people through. And this is going to save you, like, go out there, look at Infusionsoft. It's $190.99 a month. That's $2,300 a year, that subscription you're getting. At a minimum for the next year, you're getting this in access and subscription to this platform for free. So that's over $2,000 that you're getting at no cost to you.
Yeah. And this thing, real quick, just to hit this a little bit more, this is really one of the best CRMs that I've seen out there. Call it the lower cost CRMs that I've seen out there. And it has all the prospecting tools. So as we load you up with the emails that need to be sent or the messages for you to outreach with, this system is going to help you do that, as well as the follow-up system, as well as your customer relationship management. You're going to be able to, in there, know all the different categories that customer is working with. Mark's reports from the team are going to be sent to you that are going to go into this. This is your HQ. This is your, I love, Yannick named it. He says, you know what? We got to call this Advisor HQ because it really is your headquarters. This is your business.
Yeah, so we're going to load it up with all the stuff that Mark's already proven that works. And then part of the whole commitment that you have back to us as a charter group is, there's going to be things that we want to figure out that can work better. You're going to be out there experimenting with us, and then you have to come back and share. And that way we can load it up and make everybody's output even better than that. So that's part of it. And it's going to keep getting better. And it's going to keep getting more robust and more automated.
And just like FYI, full disclosure, so you have the correct expectation. You're going to be getting your account set up during the 6-week program. So I don't want you expecting like day one, you're going to have access to this like full-blown, super overwhelming marketing automation platform that just like puts you in instant overwhelm. That's not going to support you. So as you go through the program and the time's right, this is going to be opened up and you're going to have your free subscription to this turbocharged platform for yourself. And then there's an entire marketing and sales library. Somebody asked this great question. I forgot to even put it on here. Are you going to set up your own website? So we're actually, Damien's team, they are experts at this. They're going to take Mark's site and going to create a professional professional site that you can use for your own business that's customized to your own expense reduction agency. So that's going to be on here. I forgot to put it on the slides, but you get for those top niches, you're going to get the right outreach messages, the prospecting and sales scripting for each of the top niches. You're going to get Mark's PowerPoint presentation that he goes in for his sales meetings. And it's a dynamic presentation that you just do a couple things and it instantly is customized for whatever industry that you're talking to. Also, those case studies and that explainer video where the team is going to create niche ones for the top niches that people are focused on. And again, over the next 6 weeks, this is what's going to be rolled out to you. So you're not going to get it instantly on day one because it's just overwhelming. So as the time's right, as you go into the training, you're going to get this like one by one to build and layer on top of each other. So you are set up for the ultimate success.
It's like you get all of Mark's experience and all the stuff that he's done and proven, and then you get Damien's experience of what they've done and built that becomes automated and the way that we clone things. Like it's really darn exciting that way.
And so when you're one of those 12 people, you're going to get that 6 weeks live, hands-on, interactive implementation training with Mark. You're going to get that bonus training with Mark Sales Mentor. So you can learn how to close at a 90% rate as well. You get the certification that comes from the Institute for Cost Reduction Professionals. You have Mark's team of analysts that's going to do all the fulfillment work for you in those 23 different expense categories. You're going to get your free subscription to the Evolve Profits Advisor HQ software. It's your complete prospecting and sales CRM and your entire marketing library of all those customized niche marketing pieces that you can put to use over the coming weeks, months, and years. And a huge charter member only bonus is Mark is going to, when you line up a qualified prospect, he will be at that sales meeting with you to close the deal with you. And this is the best way for you to learn and master the sales process as well, by sitting in the co-pilot seat as Mark's master, like in there, closing these deals on your behalf. And the reason why he's doing this is Evolve Profits' own success is completely dependent on your success in this. So him sitting in there, devoting his time and his expertise to ensure your success sets the Evolve Profits team up for greater success as well. So this is one of those things that we can only promise for these 12 charter members, that you're going to get this amazing bonus here.
Yeah, I'll throw in one more quick thing, because Mark has his team of analysts in all his places, and Ian Altman, his secret weapon in sales. Of course, you're going to get trained by me on Evolve Enterprise, because I want you to walk into those companies with not just they can write checks like we talked about, but great ideas for how they're going to make an impact. And maybe even more so is I have some unusual, I call them magic people, like, maverick magicians who I've met over the years that really help with mindset, with, just the way you integrate wholeness, like the way you can show up and feel, I've been in a mindfulness practice for many years now, and like just how you show up fully centered, fully present is going to impact what happens in those conversations. So I'm going to introduce you to some of my magic team. And some of them might be a little bit weird, but you're going to have to be okay with it.
You know what? I'm excited to hear that, Yannick, and just watching you go all in on this. I mean, I already know what that is that you're describing. I know what that is, and that's an amazing gift that you're prepared to do. This closing for you, I got to hit on this. You know me. You all of you that are on here know me, and I got to touch on this because, when he said that he'd be willing to do this, I get it. Look, why not? If he knows, obviously we all have a vested interest in this. We all want to make a big impact. He knows he has a 90% close ratio for those qualified businesses. He knows he's going to have a pretty darn good shot over me or anyone else that goes, with their first client. So the fact that he's willing to do that, and we asked, like, Yannick was a little nervous about this when he goes, are you sure? Like, what if they have 3 deals for you next week? And I'll go back to, as long as it's qualified, look, Mark's not going to get on the phone and talk to the restaurant that's making 500 grand a year. That's not the client. We're going to teach you what is the client, what is the qualified, and teach you how to find the qualified. And then for those 12 folks, or for the 10 of you that join Martin and Chuck, one would argue Chuck wouldn't need it, but you know what? Chuck is going to I'm sure he's going to step aside and say, Mark, show me the way, master plan. Let's see exactly how it's done right. So Mark, I got to tell you, the fact that you're willing to do this for this beta group, for this charter membership group, is going to ensure all of us have incredible success with this program. So I want to thank you for this ad because it's massive. And I also want to let you know, if you're sitting here considering waiting for the link and you want to join, I do not want you to join if, and this is a big, guys, this is a big, please hear me out on this. If you're not planning on taking action with what you're going to be hands-on taught and trained how to do, please don't join this program. Save us the time. Here's why. We can't have 12 charter members in this program where 6 of them aren't taking action and 6 of them are. That's a broken, that's not what we want. Is we want 12 horses here that are part of this program that want to learn, that want to serve, and that want to, most importantly, take action. Okay, so please, this is a take action only opportunity here. But anyway, thank you again, Mark.
Well, I'll add from my side, Damien, this idea of who I'm looking for, as well as like I'm kind of challenging all of you that do apply, that you need to elevate the level of impact that you want to serve and create in the world. And you also need to elevate, the client that you're serving in the world. And so we're all going to step up into that together. And then after this Evolve Promise, I'll share with you a little bit of my ulterior motive, that almost like peeking behind the curtain of you've heard a lot about why I care about this, but I'll give you one more.
And there's as Evolved Enterprises, Evolved Profits, there's an Evolved Promise that the team is making to you. The first promise is you will get at least one client your first year doing this. Otherwise, we're going to buy back your charter membership and send back all your money and free up that spot in the charter membership program. So you're guaranteed to get a client in your first year. And second, when you get that first client, 100% of your investment plus a whole lot more is going to come back to you in your first client revenue. And that is being guaranteed, that no matter what, that's happening with your very first client. So one, this is going to work for you. Second, you're going to make all your money back and a whole lot more. And you're going to be well on your way to hitting like client after client to get to that $250,000 range, then a $500,000 range, and hitting the financial and lifestyle goals that you have for yourself with this once in a decade opportunity. So like imagine this, as an Evolved Profits Certified Advisor, charter program member, you are really getting a complete package. The training, the certification, the marketing resources, the credibility, the expertise, complete hands-off, worry-free fulfillment, the guidance, the mentorship from Mark. This is absolutely not a franchise.
Proven case studies is also so huge.
Yeah. However, if you remember back when Mark was introduced the expense reduction franchise on his journey with Phil, that was a $40,000 or $50,000 investment. So think of this program as $40,000 in real honest to goodness value that you're getting today as a charter member. And as has been pointed out, there's only 12 spots available in this live, interactive training,
10.
coaching. 10 spots. Certification charter program. So you will be this is going to be the only group who has this very high level of personal attention and interaction with Mark as it's being co-created with you. And you'll most likely be the only group who gets Mark at this level attending your sales meetings to close the deals with you. And like we mentioned, 2 spots have already been taken. So we're now down to 12 spots. So here are your next steps. If you want to be one of those 12 people, the next steps you want to take right now today is first, like we mentioned, this is not an online course anybody can sign up for. It is an exclusive program you have to apply to become a part of. So step number 1 is go to this link down here, www.goalmobilespecial.com EP Apply, short for Evolve Profit. So EP Apply. The link's probably in the chat box as well. Click on that, go to that link, and you're going to put down a refundable $1,000 deposit. And and the reason to do this is just make sure that you actually are somebody that's serious, that this is something that you are really serious, that you want to be a part, and these other 10 members. And if you end up not becoming a part of the charter program, that's refunded back to you 100%. Or if you are a part of the program, that deposit is now added into your investment to be a member of the charter program. The second step is after you do that, there's going to be an application for you to complete. And so we can find out more about you, your background, your expertise, and why you want to be a part of this program. Then the third step is a call is going to happen with Damien or Mark or both of them. And why they are doing it this way is really simple. We all want to make sure that this is a good fit for everybody involved, that the business model is a great fit for you, and that you are somebody who will really excel at it. Also, we want to know that you are a good fit to be working with us, that you're somebody who's going to really follow through with this and bring value to this collective group, so the group is more valuable to being together than any one individual. And we're putting our money where our mouth is, and we'll refund 100% of your investment if you don't get a client. And we promise your very first client is going to pay your entire investment and a whole lot more. And I don't know of any other program or opportunity that can make that promise to you. That one, you're going to get a client, and that first client is going to pay for everything and a whole lot more. And when you talk with Damien and Mark, there are several options to get started. And they're going to work with you to pick the best option that's the right fit for you to be one of these 12 charter members. So any questions people have, we can cover those now. There are probably...
And I want to address the big question in everybody's mind. That is, what's the price? And so here's the deal, guys. Obviously, this is not going to be for everyone. We've been very clear about that. But the values here, this is a special, amazing opportunity to get involved and to help serve and help you to serve at your highest level ever. And so what we didn't want is to be flashing a price out here and just have you self-select that it's not right for you. To keep you away from the opportunity, because maybe we flashed a price up here and you maybe have some limiting beliefs and quickly, self-select yourself out of this opportunity. And I don't want that for you. What I at least would want for you is that you and I could get on the phone and have a candid conversation, because for the right folks, for the win-win, we will work it out. We will certainly work it out. And that's why we're doing it this way. And that's why we also want you to apply, because we really want to make sure that you're going to have a shot at this. So you're really going to be able to do this. So go to the link, apply, put down the $1,000 deposit. I'm going to be on the phone with you from now and through the weekend, or first of the week next week. We're going to get on this fast, and we'll talk it out. We'll talk it out, and you can ask direct questions as well. We can even pull Mark in for conversations if we have to as well. So back to you, Kevin.
Yeah, well, I just want to
go ahead.
Iterate on one thing, which is this idea that the only way that we win is by you winning, and that's why we want the right people, especially in this charter group, and that charter group is really going to set the stage by your experiments and you going out there, seeing what's working for you, how it takes shape, and then we can make that even better for the next group that we go out with. And this next group that we go out with, at some point, they're not going to get this deal, A, for the pricing and the support. So it's a darn good one.
All right. Well, a couple questions that you might have right now is, like, you might feel like you don't belong talking to a $50 million company. You don't have that experience. You're not quite sure, can you do that? And a couple things I'd say for that is, one, you get that bonus of Mark being there at your sales meeting to close the deal with you. That is a huge leg up that you get. Second, you can have the confidence that there's the team of analysts that's doing all the work and the results that have been produced. So we're $1 billion saved in the case studies that they have.
I think Mark's still on, but we've obviously been running late, so I assume he's listening in still. He probably has something else going on.
I'm here.
All right, good. The like that meeting, you're not flying to Tupelo or wherever. This is going to be a virtual meeting, I assume.
Virtual, yeah.
Yeah, this will be a virtual meeting unless it is a Fortune 50 client that requires an in-face meeting.
There you go.
Happy to get on a plane and go somewhere, assuming we can get on planes.
There you go. Yeah. So, and it's not right now. We're going to make a lot of these meetings are happening virtually, and the closes are faster that way.
Yeah, they are.
And another thing that's good you're going to start finding is when you start building up these referral partners and you get referred to qualified companies to get your foot in the door, many ways it's the same talking to a small local business owner as it is talking to the owner or CEO of a $50 million company. They're still at the heart the same people, same concerns, and you're going to learn how to have that conversation effectively through Mark's training over the next 6 weeks. So you have a lot of confidence to have that conversation. So that's what you're going to get there. And it might also be concerns like, I'm not sure if I know any business owners that are over $10 million. And there's a couple of things that you can really do easily in your first 30 days to start getting people in that pipeline of prospects. One, just get on LinkedIn. And I showed you like the huge opportunity there and just start connecting with businesses that meet those qualifications and using some of the simple messaging. Also, this is a business not based on who you personally know. It's one based on who your network knows. So you're going to learn how to use your network as referral sources to get connected and your foot in the door with the right people. And then you're going to start building up those super referrer partners over the next couple months that they're just going to start sending people your way as well. Talk about this if you're not in the U.S. You just focus on getting clients here located in the U.S. And then there's this question of like, all right, this all sounds amazing, but there's always pitfalls involved. So like, what are the pitfalls involved with this business? Well, the first one is this is absolutely not a get rich quick and make money overnight deal. We're not saying that you're going to sign up in the next 24 hours or next week, you're going to be putting money in your pocket. It doesn't work that way. You're going to have to like gain some understanding on how to have conversations, how to talk to people, start having those conversations, bring qualified people, prospects to the table, close those deals. So it's going to be a 30-day to 3-month sales cycle you're operating in. So you're not going to like wake up next week and have money in your bank account. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it is absolutely worth it. The second thing is you have to be willing and able to talk to business owners or C-level executives. You just can't, if you're somebody that wants to hide behind the screen, sending out mass emails and LinkedIn connections without actually talking to anybody, this is not the right business for you. You have to be willing to pick up the phone and have one-on-one conversations with people following the guidance that Mark's going to give you. Another one, like Yannick talked about, it's like this lumpy income or lumpy money type of business. And what we mean is it's not when you sign up a client, they're not on a monthly automatic reoccurring credit card billing cycle that pays you $1,000 a month. And it's very consistent and predictable. You're going to get these big lumps of money that come in all the different times. Occasionally, they're going to be one time up front that a rebate check comes in and all of a sudden like that gets sent out one time. Other times they're going to be monthly. Other times they're going to be quarterly. And it just is going to be a different kind of income stream, but it's all locked into that 2-year contract. And it's growing over time as it expands into more categories. And then the last one is, despite the pitfalls, we absolutely want to step the deck in your favor. So the odds are completely stacked in your favor. And we do that with all those credibility boosters, the certification, the professional website, the explainer videos, the case studies, the credibility of the Evolved Profits analyst team that's doing the work. Plus there's the in-depth, live, interactive training and coaching that you're getting with Mark for the next 6 weeks, that he is going to turn you into an expense reduction ninja over the coming months. And you will know how to clearly and confidently talk to any business owner or CEO and sound amazing doing that, regardless if it's a $10 million company, $100 million company, or heck, you may even find yourself talking to $1 billion company someday in the future. And you're going to not sweat it a minute because you know how to have that conversation. So everything is designed to stack the deck in your favor when you're one of these 12 members. So anything that you want to add as we kind of come to the end of this phenomenal marathon peel the curtains behind webinar?
And everybody stayed put. Now, this is really an awesome opportunity. Hopefully you guys are filling out the applications now. I know that many of you have raised your hand in here saying, I'm in. I know, Katie, you're pretty excited about this. She even put it in here. I love working with small businesses, but man, I can get on this horse of working with big, large ones too, right? Big money-making opportunity here for those of you that are into wanting to pay it forward, wanting to serve your business communities, want to serve those causes out there. Here's your way.
Hey, Damien, I don't know if you
anything we've ever done. What was that? Sorry.
I don't know if you saw it. Like somebody in the chat box, might have been Dave, posted that he knows somebody in his local area, and it's a company that does expense reductions, but they only do it for like utilities. Like they specialize in utility expense reduction, and it's $160 million a year business in his local area, only focusing on that one specific category.
Yeah, that's why we decided not to be spend category specific and be siloed. That's why we created this hub and spoke system. So no matter what a client needs, we can satisfy that through anybody that's part of our team.
Nice.
And I'd even imagine that they'd be a great referrer.
Oh yeah.
They walk in the door and get energy down, then they'd be a great referrer partner.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't get any energy business for them, though.
Yeah, no, it would be exclusive to energy only, or whatever the case is. But
hey, Chuck Chiodo's a little overly excited, so I'm going to allow him to talk as he's had the opportunity to join in already. Chuck, can you hear me, sir? Are you there? I unmuted you. You should be able to talk. Chuck Chiodo. Oh, hold on. Unmute. There you go. You there, Chuck? He may be sleeping. Martin, you want to say a few words? Oh, there you are. Go ahead.
It just turned on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Awesome.
So share your excitement. I mean, that the community's no stranger. You're no stranger to the community. So
this is so cool. I mean, this is so much better than when I originally heard about it, and even on the fireside chat. There's so many opportunities, and originally I had the same thing. Is like I've never worked for a big company. I don't really have connections with large corporations. But when you went through the list of potential referral partners, way back in a different life, I was doing a lot of financial type consulting, working with a lot of nonprofits. I actually was a certified specialist in plan giving. And even though I haven't been in that industry for a long time, I understand it and I know who to reach out to. There's business brokers. I mean, you gave so many great examples, and I do know, and I think everyone on this call knows at least one person in one of those potential referral source industries.
Yeah, exactly. That's where it gets so exciting. And then Mark will really explain to you how to activate those super referrals, because they want different things, right? Like the accountant wants to make sure that they don't look bad by screwing up by referring you in, and somebody else, the M&A guy, wants something different. They want a higher valuation. Or they want a quicker way of recouping what their investment was if they were the one that bought that company. And the consultant wants a different thing, which is free up the cash so that they would get paid on to do the service that they want to do. So it's like everyone has a different way that they can do it. So it's like the same thing that you go to an accountant with is not going to work for the M&A guy.
Right. And the great thing is that having that instant credibility, because it's not like when you're running an agency with just a pain in the ass, right? It's like, all right, what are your results? Running a Facebook ad campaign, it's so much different. The credibility is there. The opportunity is there. The need is there. it's really very, very timely.
Super
And I love the
timely.
fact that it's really focusing on the consulting, and I've told Damien this, I've transitioned my business over the last year to really focus more on the consulting side. And this really fits into it. So I'm so excited. This is like amazing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, great to have you a part of the dream team here, buddy. I was tasked to build the dream team, so you had to be on it.
I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. Hey, Martin, can you hear me, sir?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes. So, alas, Evolved Profits Advisors Zero.
Well, I like that
I'll
term
start
better
with you,
than.
buddy.
Well, I like that term better than what you originally called me. So.
Yeah, patient zero was not going to work.
Yeah, I was like, no. Positive. Yeah, I'm really excited to get started. For me, most of the community that knows me, I have a day job. I work for a Fortune 5 company that is incredibly foolish, that, by the way, needs this. I don't know if they're going to not have hard heads to do it, but, we'll try. But for me, this is a way of getting free. And freedom is something I think about every day. Freedom to make my own choices. And this is that path. So looking forward to getting started.
Awesome, man. So great to have you on board as well, Martin. So thank you for sharing your words, both Chuck and Martin.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
So on the U.S. only, yeah, right now, Mark, if you want to touch on that, and I know we've touched on it, but if we could reiterate a little bit, it is U.S. businesses right now, but we did have, some questions from like Steve Packer on here that could get into $10 billion companies or whatever the numbers were. And, Mark, if you want to address for the right opportunity, how that even works.
Yeah, so I do actually have some U.S. clients that have Mexican and Canadian operations, but everything is based here in the U.S. If it's a strictly Canadian-based company, they have some different rules that we would have to go through. So depending on the opportunity, it's like anything else, right? My father told me 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing. So I never say no. I always like to examine the opportunity first to see if it's something that we can make work. And if we can make it work, then we'll give it a shot. If we can't make it work, this is an international business. The largest group, expense reduction analysts that charge right now $60,000 a year for a franchise fee, they are an international company with 700, 800 advisor partners all over the world. So you can do this internationally. We physically are set up for U.S., but I do have a relationship with ERA, a very good relationship with ERA, and if the opportunity is right, we can see what we can do.
Good. And the other thing is there is a blue ocean of businesses in the United States as well for you to target, and that's wide open. So, and it doesn't matter where you are, whether you're in Australia or whether you're in the UK or Canada. So, because as Katie said, do you think we could do we have to be physically there to meet with them? And I said, you can do it just like this, especially after the last 2 months.
Well, it's even better because I think you do the screen share and you share the proof and you share the case studies and you get them engaged and it's done.
Yeah, it's a little bit, I think this is actually an easier sell than being in front of people.
Yeah.
Because they're focused on what you're showing them rather than reading it while you're trying to make a presentation. So I think this works a lot better, actually.
Cool. Sean V says, I just applied and am pumped. It did not have a way to pay the deposit. Housekeeping, real quick, guys. I'll take the heat on this. That was we had a lot of moving parts to bring this to the dance, and I did not get that part handled. It's getting handled right now as we're talking. Fill out the application. I'm going to be reaching out to all of you guys today. Anybody that fills out the application today, you're going to hear from me today. I'll spend the rest of the day getting this done, and we'll get that all arranged. Also on that application should be at the bottom of it here before long, a link so that you can pay the deposit. So revisit that application to see if it's on there.
Yeah, but I think it's also a nice little testament to what we care more about is we want this material in your hands so you can understand it, and then to get the right people in applying. And the very first thing we didn't put on that application was pay here. So we're not interested in the $1,000. We're not that interested in the tuition. We're interested in how do we work together to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. We want the right people to grow this.
So there's a couple questions I want to answer. First of all, there was a question about the biggest competitors being maybe McKinsey and Deloitte. That comes from Katie. Katie, no, they're not competitors. The reason why they're not is they charge a consulting fee up front. That's number one. Number two, believe it or not, as big as they are, they don't have the same data we have. And I know that's crazy when you think about it, but we've gone against them and we've beaten them every time we've gone against them as a competitor. I have not lost to McKinsey. I have not lost to Deloitte. I've not lost to KPMG. I've not lost to Accenture. So that's just, I don't consider them a competitor. I would consider someone like an expense reduction analyst or another cost reduction provider a competitor. And most of the times we still win. Why? Because our network is a network of guys that have that experience that you can't get in one firm, and we're not a franchise. So I think that's pretty important. And there was another question about, say that Mark gets half of the savings and profits and you get 50%. No, that's not how it breaks down. It's actually a little bit more complicated than that. It's hard to go into on this call right now, but be sure we can explain that if and when we do have a interview with you.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that get paid on the analyst side that there's a lot of pieces to that. But what Kevin was sharing was the net dollar amounts, and that were pretty reasonable that you could look at to see. And then I think that also included the net of that 5% of that impact pool, if I'm not mistaken, Kevin, if you added that piece as their net. So that was,
no, they're still getting 25% of the fees that come into Evolve profits.
Yeah.
So for every dollar that comes in, you get 25 cents.
And then everything else goes to making the sausage and doing all the work for you.
Yeah. You know what I love about it is it's the 3-year commitment. This isn't like, in the agency world, we hope to get that 1-year deal, but that's not usually reality, right? If they don't see ROI in 3 months, you're now back at the table talking about whether it's going to continue. Obviously, if they're getting the ROI, we hope that continues. But I love the fact that this is structured in a way that the team goes in and negotiates with all the existing vendors. 75% of them stay on, agree to new terms, and agree for 3 years. The ones that don't agree, they get replaced with ones that are willing to do it for 3 years. And so what that does contractually locks you, the advisor, and Evolve Profits, locks us in, and the charitable cause is locked in for the first year and the second year. And so the way that this works out ultimately, because the third year, the business gets 100% of the savings. Okay, we all share in it in the first year and the second year. So this is front loaded, but really they're paying a third of their savings ultimately is what this works out to be. And it's a 3-year commitment. They're paying a third over time. They don't have to put any money out of pocket. I love that fact about it too. When you just compared it to that who is not considered a competitor because they charge big fees up front. Here it's simple. It's like it's black and white. We're either going to find you savings and engage, or you're not going to pay us. What a great offer that is, right?
Yeah, and that first client is going to more than pay for the tuition and the investment into this with us, and that's super exciting. And then the Evolve promise that we came up with, Kevin and Damian and Mark, like that idea of that we would buy back the charter position. I'm gonna throw out something. You guys can veto me if you want, but we said in a year. I feel like we could do it at 6 months. Like if 6 months you're not seeing something, we'll be happy to buy back your spot.
Wow. All right. I won't veto you. If Mark doesn't want to veto you.
Mark's the numbers guy. I don't know, he might, but I feel so confident in what this is and getting them to that first client.
My life is a negotiation, guys. Everything's a negotiation.
Yeah. So again, we're going to have that call. We're going to identify that it's a great fit for us to engage, and we're going to be right on you. So just be prepared to definitely engage. This is not, hey, Mark, Damian, I might miss next week's call. No, man, this is like I said to Chuck. Chuck says, man, I was working on some pretty big things. I'm going to put them all aside right now. This is way too big. This is way too important. This
And
is
the timing couldn't be better from what businesses need help and why Mark's phone is ringing so much more now with clients coming back who didn't think they needed it. It's really a really interesting timing.
Kevin, regarding that hospital that your wife works at, wouldn't that be incredible if you were able to bring that hospital to the table, thereby saving many jobs, friends of your fiance? I mean, I'm sorry if I said wife, that's soon, but of your fiance, that's pretty cool. And I think there's probably a lot more opportunities out there where maybe your family members are employed at big companies. Talk to them. Ask them. Your family member may be employed at a big company and have a management position. And maybe it's a little weird for someone in this department to be talking to the guys in management about cost cutting, but hey, you never know, especially if it can potentially save their job, your family member or friend's job, and then some. So great question. Chuck says, when will the training start? So that's a great question.
June.
Yeah, so I tentatively it starts the first week of June. So, and it's going to be twice a week for 6 weeks. So get ready. We're going to rock it right away. So we're ready to go. The course outline is ready. We've already lined up Ian, and it's a matter of just delivering. So we're ready when everybody else is ready. So let's do this.
All right. I think I've got the pay link here real quick that I'm going to put in here. Let me just post this right now. So if you did not get to pay yet with your deposit, with your application, do it here. This one was quick. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate you at Mission Control. You're running this plane. You're flying this plane for us and setting all that stuff on the back end. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Sorry for the fire drill. All right. So any other questions before we wrap it up? Look, this was the longest Zoominar that I've ever done in my life. Not the longest webinar, but the longest Zoominar. And it's certainly a long webinar. But I know that you guys are, hopefully you guys have been inspired today. Let's tell you what we have for all of you that stayed here with us this entire time. Favor, do me a favor, please, really quickly. His name's Favor, by the way. That's our support rep at Go Mobile. He's on here. Please, right now, get all the names down of everybody's on here. Here's what we're doing for all of you. So again, if this is not a good fit for you right now, that's okay. How could you adopt these principles, and how could you apply this business model to your agency, and how could you go out and serve those clients that you currently serve now? And we don't want you to be left in the lurch and not be able to do that. We want you to be able to play and be involved as well. And so what Yannick and I have agreed to do is, actually he agreed, it's his time. Yannick is, if I want to get Yannick's time for an hour, we're good friends, but that's worth at least $1,000 to $2,000, of his time. He's agreed to do a 2-hour mastermind for everyone that has shown up and stayed on here and everyone that completed that survey. You do need to complete the survey after this, but you'll be able to come onto this mastermind. I'll let Yannick pick when it's going to be. It's probably going to be a couple weeks out, and it's going to all be around adopting the evolved enterprise model in your agency. So doing business with your agency can now become about something much more than just the transaction, and also how you can incorporate this business model with those businesses you serve. Now we are talking about the $500,000 restaurant that's up the street, because you know what? They could team up with a local social cause, and you can help them to make that a bigger part of their story, therefore gaining evolved profits, right? So that's going to happen here in a couple weeks. And Yannick, if you want to share anything on what we're going to do on that.
Yeah, exactly. And we have to get you a new updated version of that book. You got the soft cover. We have a hardcover. But I appreciate the.
Make sure to sign this one next time.
Yeah, there you go. It's, I truly put my heart and soul into that book, into this idea. There's a framework around.
And you put my soul. You put my soul in that book too. Look at that.
Yeah,
see that gravestone?
Right. And that was one of my drawings. Yeah.
You put my soul in the book. Go ahead, Yannick. Sorry.
On his headstone. So when you get the book, you'll see it. So the idea of this brainstorm and mastermind is like, let's come together and come up with ways that we're going to serve your existing customers better and new ones. So it becomes a prospecting tool for you and a business building tool for you, and that you can implement some of these ideas because you're going to come in, so many of you are marketing idea oriented, and a lot of the business owners have been doing things their own way, the exact same way. So you're going to come in with a new way and show them how they can be a hero in their community, how they can make a greater difference, how this can actually improve their profits. And you can start with some small ideas or bigger ideas, but you're going to, again, be that ethical savior, as Kevin's been talking about. And we're going to come up with I have some ideas for it, but I think together we're going to come up with even better ideas, and then we'll see what happens from it.
I got to always put it on mute because, as you guys have been hearing occasionally, I pound the keyboard and nobody misses that. So I apologize. All right. Sean V says, I paid, I'm in, I'm filling out the app. Good. I'd be looking forward to speaking with you, Sean. I think you'll do very well with this. So yeah, I'm just excited. Yannick, you lit my fire, man. You lit my fire in January. And it, of course you had the help of a 3.5 hour sweat lodge at about 150 degrees or whatever it was. But this is great.
It's just a unique opportunity. And as I said at the very beginning, my intention is to nudge the consciousness of the globe by just a little bit, 1 degree, by using the leverage of business. And my ulterior motive, even as we continue expanding this and going out, is at some point, our support team is going to get overwhelmed. And my goal is to bring in a support team of different underserved communities that can be doing some of the legwork and the analysis work. So that's people with disabilities, it's special needs, it's just all sorts of communities, maybe lower income communities that we can bring in. And that was one of the things, Mark, you and I talked about as well. I'm like, let's do that as well. And then that becomes just another cherry on top when you're selling this thing. So there's so many layers to this, and that's where it gets so exciting.
And David Sukert, how you doing, Dave? Good to see you on here, bud. I have 2 companies I can contact tomorrow that might be a good fit for this. Awesome. Actually, Dave, you came to mind. You would be a great fit for this. This is, can you see, I can see you getting along with Mark really well, and I can see you out there doing this. You are a good fit, sir. All right. What are the questions do we have? Or are we going to bring it to a close? We're going to land this?
The question about the $1,000 refund, if you're not a good fit, it's going to happen right away. I mean,
yeah,
no reason for us to keep it at all. There's no weird shenanigans that are going to happen with it.
Wow, man, I can't believe there's still 81 people on here, and we are 3 hours and 11 minutes in. This is incredible. Well, we struck a chord. So,
yeah.
Kevin, do you want to? What we should do, just as we sign this off, is each of us should have our sign off, and I'll be the last one. So maybe we start with Mark. Mark, if you just want to say some words to the community and your new advisors, because I'm sure they're on here right now waiting for every last word.
Well, thanks, Damien. I just, we all have an opportunity to make an impact. I think this is a great program that's going to allow everybody to be able to do that in a really quick fashion. And in addition to that, it's 100% timely. And, I'm really excited, and I've been excited. Yannick and I have been friends for quite a while. I met Damien a few months ago, and, this opportunity, I think, is as he says, it's a 6-layer dip win. So I guess that's probably right. It may be more than that. I don't think it's any less than that. But we're going to have some fun and welcome everybody to the team. We welcome you all as partners. If you decide you want to be part of this excursion, but we're going to have a good time doing it, and we're going to help a lot of people, and that's the important part.
We're going to have everyone provide their favorite recipe for 6-layer, 7-layer, 8-layer dip, whatever it is.
Yeah, we'll get it right one day, right? 6-win layer dip. Boom.
6-win layer dip. I like it. We're going to trademark that one. That's going to become the new Evolve Profits advisors are going to start using that as their trademark term. I love it.
Well, you finally accomplished it, Yannick. Congratulations. It took you 8 years, but here we are. No, this is awesome.
And that, you know what, when you say that's actually, it's a great feeling, because I get excited by leverage, and the leverage that happens when you take great ideas and you leverage them across networks and across distribution and across channels. And that's what, these bigger companies have. And then when you layer in that evolved enterprise aspect, the leverage of it, that's where it gets exciting. And as you can tell, I get really lit up on the impact piece, and that's what it's going to get bigger and bigger. And I can see this huge scoreboard that we're going to have on the website that says how many billions saved, or how many hundreds of thousands saved, and how much has been impacted as well.
Clay says, many thanks, Mark, Yannick, Damien, and certainly Kevin. A super great program. Wow, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you for that. And Klaus just said, love what you just said, Yannick. It matches why I decided to build a business. Too much talent is excluded for just being disabled or ill, and thus not fitting the mold. Thanks for sharing. Awesome, Klaus.
So there was one more question that I think needs to be answered. Sean, I think, said, how quick can we start selling this? Well, once you're accepted into the program and you're part of the team, if you're comfortable selling it right away, go for it. You don't have to wait to be fully trained. So, yeah.
Oh, man, I love it. That's the kind of action taking I like. Don't read the instructions. Just get after it.
Yeah, I'm a guy. I throw instruction booklets away.
I mean, it is, of course I had a relationship with my friends for a while, but I literally, in my weird way of explaining it, he's like, oh, it sounds great. Let me talk to Mark about it. And, that happened just like 5 minutes before we got on this webinar.
That's awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, Kevin, you want to say a few words to your community? Thank you for delivering such a solid presentation, man. You flew this plane. You flew it straight. You flew it steady, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
When you first told me about this, when you got back from Costa Rica in January, like, wow, this sounds pretty amazing. I hope this moves forward with Damien and Yannick. And then felt very grateful when you brought me into the mix a while ago and got to like sit behind the curtains and see it all come together. And I'm already have my list of people or companies that I want to bring in because they definitely need help right now. So this is a huge opportunity that I'm taking advantage of in my own personal life. And I can only imagine is each of these 12 people over the coming weeks or months, there's going to be that moment in time where that first payment shows up in their bank account. It's probably going to be the largest single deposit to ever happen in many people's bank account, because these are big lumps, like lumpy chunks of money that come in, and they're exciting. And you're going to like throw a little happy dance party in front of your computer and share it with your spouse. And that's the first of many, many, many more of those big lumpy chunks of money showing up in your bank account.
That's awesome. I love it. Lumpy chunks of money. Just love it.
Big lumpy chunks.
All right. Awesome. Well, Yannick?
Nothing else. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it. And thanks everyone who stayed. We have so many people that continue to stay. I look forward to doing that brainstorm mastermind with so many of you, and look forward to meeting our new advisors and then really walking you through the evolved enterprise concepts and introducing you to some of my magic people.
Awesome. Thank you. And so we've been just allowing a little bit more time, so Favor has enough time to get all of you guys that are still on here. Because Zoom I'm not sold, by the way, guys. I don't know how much longer you'll be seeing me do the Zoom webinars. I'm not sold. There are a couple things that were bothering me today about the Zoom features. But anyway, I do like it for the informal stuff, like we did the fireside chat. That was pretty cool. But today there was some quirky stuff. So I'm not sold on it yet. But anyway, all right. So thank you, Mark. Thank you, Yannick. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Favor. Thank you, Chuck and Martin. Thank you, team, for being a part of this special day.
Yeah,
exactly. Thanks to all of you. And thank you to all of you that, filled out that NDA and decided that this was something that you wanted to participate in today. I hope that you were inspired today, at the very least, to be thinking about becoming an evolved enterprise yourself, and at the very least, coaching the businesses you serve on why now is a really good time to be thinking about that. Go back and see that fireside chat, as well as be ready for the mastermind that we're going to be doing with Yannick in a couple weeks, okay? So thank you for your time today. Thank you for your attention. And for those of you that are joining us as a certified Evolved Profits Advisor, get ready. We're going to have some fun doing some real good work in the world. Thank you so much, everybody. What we like to say now from Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, we're going to change it up now. Go mobile or go home. Because I think they've opened it up back up, right? All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you very much. Love to see you. I'll be calling all of you that have filled out that application right away. And I also saw a question from a couple of you on here to call. Absolutely. I'll give you a ring. All right, guys. Love you all. Take care.